Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Angela Ray.
Hello and a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and coming up at midnight. These figures are really quite astonishing, actually. Nearly 1 million people have been given speeding fines in the last year. Nearly 1 million. The points, it is, look, basically what is happening is that because they're reducing the speed limits to 20 miles an hour, it appears that people are being caught out. Now, there's no excuse for speeding. We know that. We've had to deal with 20 miles an hour in London. I never get my car out second gear. It's absolute joke. But it's a 32% increase in 3 years, the number of people being done for speeding. So I'm going to be asking you whether there is a culture of speeding, whether we're just really bad drivers, or whether this is a trap that is being set for us in order to raise a lot of money. Have you been caught out in these 20 mile an hour? I want to hear from you in Wales as well, because you successfully fought that, didn't you, across all roads? But have you been caught out in this? Have you had to go to a speed awareness course if you've been doing like 24 miles an hour? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on this. And what about driving anyway? It's become miserable, hasn't it? Because well, in London anyway, I mainly only drive in London. It is absolutely miserable because roads that you used to be able to drive down or have been able to drive down for 50 years, suddenly there's a tiny little sign that says you can't drive down it anymore, and you get a fine for doing it. They don't even give you a warning. They just give you a straight up fine for it. Other things that you do on the streets as well. Everything is just a fine, a fine, a fine, a fine. And it just feels like torture every time you go out. You get home and you think, well, am I going to get a letter in a day? I don't even know if I broke any rules. I don't even know. And I'm a good driver. Well, I think I'm a good driver. I haven't had any crashes, but I'm a good driver, and I'm conscientious, and I look and I read the roads, but still you can get caught out. So is there a war on motorists, and is that war getting worse? I mean, just the cost of petrol at the moment is enough to stop you from driving, isn't it? Let alone everything else. So that's what we're going to be talking about at midnight. So do give me a call. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. We've got Ed Wiseman in the studio, who's our transport and travel journalist, so he'll be addressing this as well, but also looking into the papers for tomorrow. Steve Berry, who's the motoring journalist, you might remember him from Top Gear. He was a Top Gear presenter in 1993 to 99. So he's going to be joining us to talk about the war on motorists. We're also going to be talking about a different kind of war, and that is the war in Iran, of course, with Professor Anthony Glees, because I want to know how this war will impact the US's reputation. I mean, we know that Donald Trump is impacting the US's reputation, but what about the military? What about everything else that's going on? So how does the world look at the US after this war of choice in Iran, which, by the way, isn't over by a long chalk? And I said last night when those points came through, the 10-point plan, that all of this is dependent on Israel and whether it would stop bombing Lebanon. And what happened today? And again, what happened today is that Iran are now claiming they've closed the Strait of Hormuz. So it is a very complicated picture. It certainly doesn't alleviate any pressure on prices. We may have seen the oil prices go down, but we know how quickly they can go back up again. And there's just no stability in this, because you've got Iran now saying they want to charge $1 million per tanker, and Donald Trump wants a piece of that action. I mean, I don't even know why he thinks he's entitled to it, but he'd like to charge tolls through the Hormuz Strait as well, even though it was open and running and working perfectly fine before he started his war of choice in Iran. So he thinks that he should get some payoff for this. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. You really, really couldn't. But the ceasefire is in jeopardy, as we know. It seems like the IRGC is in charge, which was expected to happen in the event that the Ayatollahs, well, they would take over from the Ayatollahs anyway, but the current Ayatollah seems to be unwell, potentially in a coma. So the IRGC seem to be running the country at the moment. But they've said that they will deliver a regret-inducing response if Israeli strikes in Lebanon don't stop immediately. Stock markets worldwide have rallied. The price of crude oil plunged, still not anywhere near before this happened numbers. But even if the ceasefire holds, how does the Strait get moving? There are around 2,000 ships stuck wanting to come out of the Strait of Hormuz, and of course there are tankers as well wanting to go in to the Strait of Hormuz to pick up oil and then take it out again. But will anybody risk doing that? Will the shipping world risk having another blockade and more ships stuck the wrong side of that really tricky Strait of Hormuz? And which ships are getting through? And it's really interesting if you look at the routing of these ships now, that they're not going the normal route round the Strait of Hormuz. They are going up further and around a little island called Lock Island, which is where the Iranians can eyeball the ships, decide whether they can go through or not, and also apply that $1 million toll on those ships. Well, joining me to discuss this, I'm really pleased to say, is Lorianne Larocco, who's a global supply chains, trade and maritime logistics expert at Larocco Consulting. So, I mean, this is an absolute mess, isn't it?
You know, just when you think you get a handle of it, it just changes to another narrative. And you know, just literally moments ago, it's like, you know, breaking news. I just reported that 2 vessels did indeed traverse the strait just a couple of hours ago. I spoke with marine traffic. For the viewership and listenership out there, marine traffic actually, they monitor the vessels based on the beacon. And so it's real-time data. And I have a saying, containers don't lie, trade doesn't lie. The flow of trade always blasts through the political bluster because it is a physical entity. So you can say that something is happening and it might not be. And how do I prove it to you? By looking at the flow of trade. And so as of right now, the strait has been open for an additional 2 vessels. I did break earlier this morning. So early overnight, we did have 2 vessels that traversed the Strait of Hormuz. About, I would say probably about like 6 to 7 hours after the ceasefire. And then we heard from Iran, they were closing the strait because of Israel, you know, violating the ceasefire in their eyes. And then we did not see any vessels go through. Then Secretary Leavitt came out, the press secretary for Donald Trump. You know, she said that, you know, that's not true. You know, we are, that it's not closed, but if it is closed, you know, Iran is in violation of the ceasefire. I contacted marine traffic. I have the video of the vessels. You'll just see like these little blips on the screen. But indeed, you do have 2 additional vessels that have successfully traversed. One's going to Oman and another one is going to Brazil. It's very fast.
The thing is, though, that all the way through this, there have been vessels getting through, haven't there? There's been Chinese. They're the ones that Iran has given permission to go through. Are we seeing just that? Those 2 that went through are vessels that Iran has said, yeah, you can go through, but nobody else can, because that wasn't the deal.
No, that's not definitely. I mean, it's definitely not the deal. They have had a toll system put in place, as you know. Iran did have an additional threat earlier that if you're not given permission by us, we will attack your vessel. You don't know in terms of any of these vessels that have gone through. China has been able to get through, but they were diverted. You know, they were stopped. They did stop 2 vessels, and then a couple of days later, they were allowed through. We also don't have enough clarity in terms of how much is being paid. It's not, everything is dark. Even though that the Trump administration has allowed the once sanctioned vessels to move through, they are still considered dark vessels. If you want to have above board trade with the Russian dark fleet, with the Iranian dark fleet, you need to have the real banks, like legitimate banks and legitimate insurance companies involved in the transit of the vessel as well as the transaction of the trade. And that is not happening. So because of that, it's a dark box. So I did ask marine traffic because the Iranian, the IRGG, the vessels that are bringing those vessels through, they have to have their beacon on in order to be safe. And it's very hard for marine traffic right now to assess if they were being escorted or not. So it's one of those things where we're happy that we're seeing them go through. It's the details of, okay, are these ones that were paid prior? But it doesn't look like they did pay prior because they would have already been in motion. Like, trade takes time to move. And so the vessels just started to move recently.
So
it's not like
on a normal day, like before this happened, how many vessels would you have, both, coming out of the strait laden with oil and going into the strait to pick up oil? Roughly, what would that number be?
It was in the hundreds. It was in the hundreds. I mean, you have 20% of the world oil going through that vital waterway.
So it's extremely busy waterway.
It's extremely busy. And so, when you see this now, it's a trickle. And no matter what's going on in the world, and you're in Europe, you see what's going on with your gasoline prices. I see what's going on with my gasoline prices. The jet fuel problem that Europe has right now, I spoke with one trader and analyst. They said it's on a cliff. It's going to go off a cliff because trade takes time. And so when you have a bucket and there's a hole in the bucket, you can fill, but if that hole is still there, you're going to lose. And so the problem that we're seeing is that every day that the strait is not operating fully, you have this massive deficit. And so even if it was turned on tomorrow and everything started moving again, it takes time for all the vessels to get up to the strait, to load, to leave, get out. And then, believe it or not, it takes anywhere from 2 to 7 weeks for Europe to get their jet fuel.
Wow.
Depending on where it goes. And the longer time frame, it's over in the Middle East. And so, everyone's racing around the world to capture what they can in alternative sourcing, be it the port of Yambo, which is where Saudi Arabia is diverting about 5 million barrels a day, right? It's like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. So yeah, it's good to have, but it doesn't satisfy the overall need. Now, here's the crazy thing. We've heard from Ryanair that, that he's already warning you might have to cancel some summer flights. And you're thinking to yourself, well, geez Louise, it's only April. But get this, the buffer fuel for jet fuel that came in for Europe prior to the war just came in on Monday. And it's going to be exhausted by the time May comes, when everybody gets ready to do their travel plans. So you have to back time, if you will, the supply chain. And so it's for all these reasons. That's why it's so crazy and why you're heading towards a cliff.
But it's also an issue of trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it appears that one of the conditions for Iran to stop is for them to, now that they've got control of the strait, which they didn't have before, is to maintain control of the strait, which means that we will never be able to trust that it won't be turned on and off like a tap when Iran wants something. Plus, they want to charge a toll, which will add to the overall shipping costs, add to the overall fuel cost, and Trump wants to charge a toll as well.
It would be historic because a natural waterway has never had a toll.
Yeah.
Like the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, fine, put a toll on it. It was man-made, right? You have to get that ROI, right? The return on the investment. But this is a natural waterway. And if this happens, what else could be charged? And as you point out, it's the consumer is going to pay all this. Like when it comes to all of these extra surcharges, we've had millions of containers dumped in India because they had to. The vessels could not get into the Middle East. They had to dump them somewhere so they can go back and pick up additional containers. Every time there's like a container that sits at a port over a certain period of time, you have to pay a late fee. And then the ocean carriers also charge the shippers a fee to drop off their containers at a port they weren't even supposed to be going to.
Wow.
So all of these fees are going to wind up getting paid somewhere because the ocean carrier doesn't want to pay it. The shipper doesn't want to pay it. So who pays it? We do.
And what about the insurance costs? Because again, like I'm saying, that lack of trust, right? For example, one of your ships, you're sending a big tanker in. These things are huge. They cost an absolute fortune. So are you going to be a little bit doubtful about sending it in there in the first place in case there's another blockade? And if there is, or there's some rogue faction that bombs it or threatens to bomb it, the insurance costs must be, how do you even decide on the insurance costs?
The insurance costs are set based on the value of the vessel. So what will happen is you will have ship owners, if they do have the courage to go through, because honestly, there are people on board here. You have seafarers. And, you don't want to have your vessel blown up. You don't want to be that guy. And so, but if you do want to go, what's going to happen is they're going to bring in an older vessel. And that way they're going to have to pay a war premium, but the war premium is based on an older vessel. And so, as you know, with older vessels, there could be other things as in regards to the amount of fuel that's burned, the CO2 emissions. Is it as safe as the vessels? All of that. So that is what's going to happen if that does happen. But the other thing is the safety of the strait. We do know that mines were dropped in the water. Can you be 100% certain that every single mine has been picked up? You can't. As we all know, the mine sweepers that the United States had, they were retired because the vessels were too old. So, they do have the capability. The United States has been able to identify and eliminate, some of this threat with the ships. But even as Maersk said earlier today, it is still way too early to raise your hand and say, oh, I'm going in. I'm going in with innocent lives, because God forbid you become a target.
But the other issue is, and I hadn't fully appreciated that, is with 2,000 or so ships stuck the wrong side of the strait. That doesn't just affect stuff coming out of the strait. It affects the whole world, because particularly with container shipping, it goes up for auction, doesn't it? I mean, it's a very complicated system, but basically if you've got a big ship full of containers and you've only half full, you can say, I'm going from A to B, do you need anything taking? Here's the price. I'm oversimplifying it, but here's, if you want space on this, it's up for auction, you can do it. But those ships are stuck in the strait. So you've got drugs companies that are not being able to move drugs around. You've got other companies that are not able to move other things around. So the whole world of shipping, and it's vast, isn't it? I mean, I didn't appreciate just how much stuff is moved by ship.
If you look around your house, 90% of everything in your home comes on a vessel.
Wow.
Now get this. Let's layer, okay? 6,000 products that either are in your home or what you wear are made from petroleum-based products.
Wow.
Yeah. Helium is used in MRI machines.
Yeah.
The and so on effect, like when you think about the supply chain, it's the enormity of it all. It's not just one thing. We're all in it together. Even though President Trump says, we don't use a lot of energy from the Strait of Hormuz, but we're all connected. Even though the US does have oil, we do have jet fuel, things of that nature, it's still expensive here because we're tied to the price of crude.
Yeah.
But it also, the politicians fail to understand, to thread that needle. The supply chain is the needle of the global economy because of all the components. There are so many different components made in so many different parts of the world that if you can't have that one component, the product won't be made. I have a CEO who makes Christmas decor. He's in Hong Kong, and they're already telling him that one of the products that's used to make the artificial wreaths and Christmas trees is running low because it comes from the Middle East.
Wow.
So that's impacting holiday decor. I mean, we're still trying to think about putting on bathing suits.
Yeah.
Not hanging up stockings.
But how quickly, even if, let's imagine that the Strait of Hormuz is completely opened, Iran backs off, it all goes back to this, the wonderful halcyon days of about 6 weeks ago. It all goes back to normal. Just how quickly can those ships exit the strait? How quickly can shipping get back to normal? I imagine it's not immediate.
It's not immediate. You hit the nail right on the head because it takes the travel time. Like, remember before I was telling you, like, Italy, if they got jet fuel from Yambo, it takes 3 weeks to get there.
Wow.
When you're looking at what's happening right now, you've got the vessels that have to leave. You still have that deficit gap, right? Because if you're not getting fuel every day or whatever the time frame is, right, when you get your fill up, you're going to have to start cutting back on your energy, right? The fuel cuts that we're seeing, what's going on with Italy, right, with the airports there. When you're looking at the containers, there are still hundreds of thousands of containers that are in India that are still waiting to get to their final destination.
Wow.
So it takes time, because when it's like, think about, trade's a series of pipes. And this is the biggest hairball you have ever seen, clogging up that pipe. And it takes time to unravel that hairball. And so, yes, we're cheering. We want things to happen. We want the ceasefire to happen, right? It's the best for the world. But just because it opens doesn't mean that everything goes back tomorrow. Our gasoline prices will go down fast because that will go down. But everything else and the and so on effect, it's going to ripple through for weeks and even months.
I mean, this is a whole new world to me, Lauriane. It really is, but I'm fascinated by it. And thank you very much. Let's talk again, can we? Because I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Lauriane Larocco there, Global Supply Chains, Trade and Maritime Logistics Expert at Larocco Consulting. And you can find Lauriane as an author on Substack if you want to read a little bit more about her. So there you go. Follow Lauriane on Substack. That was brilliant. That was fascinating. Anyway, quick break. Back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and at midnight let's have a good old moan together. Let's talk about speeding in this country. Is there a culture of speeding in this country, or is it that these councils are now just attacking every single driver by lowering the speed limit to 20 miles an hour and catching out actually pretty decent drivers? It is hard to stick at 20 miles an hour. I have to be perfectly honest with you. It is very, very... And when it first dropped in London, we always test everything first, don't we? Lucky us. When it dropped from 30 to 20, it felt really, really weird. And it was very easy to go over 20 miles an hour because you're just so used to the sounds of your engine and all of those things. So I suspect that's what's happening, which has raised the number of people getting speeding fines by 32% over the last 3 years. Although, obviously, driving safety organisations are saying, no, it's because there's a culture of speeding. So I want to hear from you about this. Have you ever been done in these 20 mile an hour speeding traps? And what about other things? I mean, driving has become a really unpleasant pastime now. It has become, I think, really something that you do only when you absolutely have to, because you just never know how much it's going to cost you by the time you get home. So give me a call, 0344 499 1000, and you can message me as well with the word talk and then your message to 87222. Well, we're giving you the chance to win 20 grand. You can probably spend that on fines. Why not? I mean, just keep it in a pot somewhere. You'll definitely get through it in a year in London. But it is completely tax-free. That's 20 grand straight to your bank account. Spend it, save it, splash it. It's entirely up to you. And here's how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 9th of April 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good evening to you. This is Talk and it is Petrie with you until 1 o'clock. Just a reminder that Ed Wiseman is turning up to the studio at the top of the hour. So he will be here to discuss the stories of the day and, of course, to look at the papers for tomorrow. We never know what's going to happen now from day to day. In fact, minute to minute, because it is an extraordinary flow of news at the moment. Well, it has been really since this new lot in America. Donald Trump and his regime took over a year ago, just over a year ago. The news has been pretty relentless, but certainly in the last 24 hours. It has been absolutely extraordinary, with both Iran and America claiming to have complete victory over the other when it comes to this war. We've also seen that the Iranians are saying that the ceasefire has already been broken by Israel, and I did say that yesterday. I said it all depends on if Israel is going to come to the party, and so far Israel have continued bombing Lebanon, which was point 1 on the 10-point plan from Iran. Donald Trump said there's a secret 10-point plan that nobody's seen. Even the one he posted on Truth Social, he said isn't the real one. And Caroline Levitt said he would never agree to any of the points on that 10-point plan. But there is a secret 10-point plan which is different to the one that has been made public and is more aligned to Trump's 15-point plan. Somewhere in all of that lies the truth. I don't trust either of them, to be perfectly honest with you. But what is the world thinking now about Trump's America? Already we were being punished for whatever, slight that we may have delivered to Donald Trump with tariffs. We saw that. He's been using the threat of charges on his own people against us since he returned to office. There's also been the threat of taking Greenland and dissing his NATO allies, and which has advanced in rhetoric. Of course, he was meeting with Mark Rutte earlier on today, and we yet to see much that's come out of that, apart from Trump again having a tantrum, saying, well, we'll withdraw our troops from those NATO countries that didn't help us. Well, he's got to remember that if he does that, we help him. So I don't know whether he's got a full handle on what's going on. But what does the world think of the US at the moment? Have they displayed this incredible, mighty power? Joining me now to discuss this is Professor Anthony Glees, I'm delighted to say, Security and Intelligence Studies Professor at Buckingham University. It's always such a joy to see you, Anthony. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
That I had to cut that brief because there's so much going on at the moment. But what is fascinating is the reputation of the United States. What is that around the world now?
Well, I think in a word, it's mud. And it has to be mud. When you talk about the world, I think you mean all the free world, the Western world, that includes Japan. I think Trump is seen as a ridiculous figure also in the Kremlin and also in Beijing. That's a very dangerous place for Trump to be, and I'm sure North Korea as well. I mean, we, as you say, in the past 24 hours, we've had this enormous swing. So last night, people like me were sort of going to bed extremely apprehensive. It was very hard to sleep properly last night because we knew that Trump's self-imposed deadline was going to run out at 1 o'clock in the morning our time. And we also know that the things Trump had been saying in the past 48 hours have been absolutely terrifying. He said that he would end the civilization in Iran. He issued that expletive to the Iranian people. He called them crazy, and I'm not going to use the F word, but he called them that. So he was acting like a mad dog, basically, like an old mad dog who'd had a bone taken away and whose anger knew no bounds. Then we wake up this morning and we hear that 90 minutes before the deadline's run out, it's all sweetness and light, and America's had this great victory. And meanwhile, as you say, Petrie, the Israelis seem to be doing their very best to undermine and destroy the ceasefire. They too are acting under Netanyahu's leadership like a mad dog. I mean, there are lots of people being killed right now in Lebanon, lots of innocent people by a country who said, and I think we all believed them, that they had dealt with Hezbollah when they blew up all their mobile phones and their walkie-talkies all that time ago. So we woke up this morning, the world seemed better, the oil price fell dramatically, lovely weather in the south of UK and now this evening the fighting goes on. They're not agreeing, and many security analysts will tell you ceasefires always take some time to kick in, but the essentials of this ceasefire seem to be that there is no agreement about what is in the ceasefire. You say Trump's got some kind of secret plan, but I think whereas 48 hours ago, I certainly had a serious fear that when J.D. Vance said there were tools the Americans had that so far they hadn't used, when you added that statement to Trump saying he was going to wipe out civilization in Iran, the one thing that Trump had that the Iranians self-evidently don't have, the Israelis have it too, is nuclear weapons. And that if he could not bend Iran to his will, they would be nuked. And the White House very quickly said, oh, no, after J.D. Vance's words, he didn't mean that. But I'm not sure whether that wasn't at the back of Trump's mind, because he is so angry, he is so vindictive. Now, what should the world make of this? I think one thing that is going on is that although Sir Keir Starmer's policy towards America had been a bit bumpy and uneven, first of all, they weren't allowed to use UK bases, and then they were allowed to use UK bases, but for defensive operations, when everybody knows that in a war situation, you can't really segregate what's defensive and what is offensive. But on the whole, keeping cool and keeping your cool is the right thing to do if a mad dog rushes at you. And of course, President Trump has done everything he can do to undermine our Prime Minister, even comparing him to Neville Chamberlain. Insult upon insult. He called our troops cowards, our Royal Navy toy navy, toy aircraft carriers. So he's going out of his way to insult and alienate people who are naturally his friends, pleasing those who ought naturally to be his enemies, or adversaries at least, China, North Korea, and of course Putin. And then you've got the Gulf states, with whom we have had very strong friendships and relationships here in the UK. There was a time when, of course, these are all British colonies and under British control. Now they're our close friends. We together with the Americans, offer them security in return for letting the oil go through. And look what's happened to them. America has been completely incapable of protecting them. And as far as the UK is concerned, we haven't even begun to do it. And I have to say, our HMS Dragon, the great destroyer that's meant to keep RAF Akrotiri and our other base on Cyprus safe from drones, well, that's currently undergoing repairs again in a Mediterranean port. So if you wrap this all together, what does it mean? It means that the whole war could flare up again when we wake up tomorrow morning. We couldn't be surprised, and that's bad news. And we need to be strong. We need to be much stronger. And one thing that really needs to come out of this, Petrie, is that never again must we in Western Europe let ourselves be led by the nose by an American president who thinks it's better to insult us and undermine us than to work with us to contain our enemies.
But I can't help but think that Donald Trump's reputation is, and will take a very long time, even with a new president, to fix all the fences that he's broken and continues to break. I mean, look, I've been a war reporter. I know about the fog of war. I know about the truth is never quite the truth. But I never imagined that I would see a press release or something coming from Donald Trump, from the leader of the free world, And I said last night, I don't believe it until I see what other people are saying. I never imagined that I would be in a position where I don't trust Trump, I don't trust Hexis, I don't trust their motivations, I don't trust why they're doing this, they don't even seem to know why they're doing it. But for the rest of the world leaders, that is a really difficult place to be, because we've always trusted America.
Well, absolutely. People my age have grown up as well as become middle-aged and become elderly under the idea that NATO, this brilliant defense pact, would keep us safe if the Russians ever tried again to encroach upon us here in Europe, as they have done in the historical past. It should, of course, be recalled that NATO is a defense pact. It's not an offense pact. So again, when Trump ridicules us and says, "Oh, we're cowards," and where were we when he needed them? That's not part of the treaty. Trump has been engaged with Israel in a war of choice, and it is not our choice to be part of that war. The problem for us, and the problem for Sir Keir and Macron and Merz in particular, is that although we didn't choose the war may end up choosing us. Because if Iran is not going to open the Strait of Hormuz, are we just going to watch our own economies crumble to dust? I was doing an interview with some New Zealand people the other night, and they told me how badly they have been affected already by the oil, which they get almost exclusively from the Middle East, and the fertilizers, all that drying up. They are in a terrible position already. Are we going to sit back and just let Iran destroy our way of life? We wouldn't choose that war. We don't think the war is right, and they are the bad side of evil in Iran. They hang gays from cranes, they rape women as in prison as sort of a part of the punishment there. We should shed no tears for Iran. However, it's wrong to poke a stick into that hornet's nest. We need to try and contain it. If we can't contain it, we're finished. So I think, if the ceasefire doesn't work, we in the UK, France and Germany and Italy may well find ourselves forced in some way to intervene to open up that Strait of Hormuz and keep the world economy going again. We can't have another 2008. People's going to be worse. But you do, Petrie, raise another question. It's not just about Hegseth and, my goodness, this man going on about warrior. He looks like a tin pot toy soldier out of the Nutcracker suite. And as for Trump and his ramblings, I did another debate with people in Belfast where they refused to believe that you could ever elect somebody who was maybe a bit senile, maybe a bit too old to be a president of the United States. Certainly, what made Trump change his mind? I think that is a very crucial question. And as I said to the Daily Mirror, because I've been busy today, I would not be surprised if the person who had told Trump to stop it and make peace was none other than his wife, Melania, who comes from a European heritage. She knows what it's like to live in a communist country, and she understands what the freedom of the Western world is about. She's also, I think, a very decent woman, has raised her son Barron to be a decent man. We know, he called the Met when he thought a rapist was about to get off free. I think she may have said to him, whispered in his ear at night and said, look, you can't do this, Donald. You can't speak about wiping out a civilization. You can't even begin to think of nuking a country, which is what you could do, because the Iranians don't have nuclear weapons, as we all know. If they'd had them, they would have used them by now. But, and we have to learn to live with the fact that even though we think J.D. Vance is less belligerent, and the New York Times did this marvelous scoop on how the decision to go to war was made, how Netanyahu cajoled and persuaded Trump that it should be done, and that J.D. Vance was about the only voice who said, well, you know, I don't know this is a very good idea. He's, at the moment, the most likely successor to Trump. So that's another 4 years, possibly another 8 years of this going on.
Yeah, and I'd have to say that I'm no fan of Vance either, but I am a fan of yours. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Professor Anthony Glees there, Security and Intelligence Studies Professor at Buckingham University. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie. And just a reminder that Ed Wiseman, he is going to be here in the studio at the top of the hour. Well, I don't know about you, but I used to quite enjoy driving my car. It was always quite a pleasant experience. And then Ken Livingstone happened to London, and then we got the congestion charge, and then that went up and up and up and up and up and up. It's £18 now. I had to drive into town the other day. 18 quid to drive into London, even as a Londoner who lives here and pays my taxes here. It's 18 quid. And then you add to that 20 miles an hour speed, pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. I mean, to be fair, you can't really go much faster than that in London during the day anyway, but it's still one of those things that you're constantly looking at your speedometer and not at the road. But anyway, I digress. Nearly 1 million people have had points added to their licences now for speeding, and that's up 32% in 3 years. Now, some say this is a culture of speeding, that we're bad drivers and we're reckless. Others say it's because of this lowering of the speed limits, and it is difficult to get used to. Leeds, it's coming to you next. Well, joining me now to discuss whether there is a war on motorists or whether we deserve a war on us is Steve Berry. He's a motoring journalist and broadcaster, and you probably remember him from Top Gear in 1993 to 99. Steve, good to see you. Thank you.
I started in 91.
You started in 91?
Media strikes again. Yeah, I was there for the thick end of 10 years. It's funny you were just saying about enjoying your driving in London. Len Deighton died the other day, the great novelist Len Deighton and writer. And they made those Michael Caine movies in the 60s. And I re-watched one of them because Len had passed at a grand old age, well into his 90s. And the Michael Caine character is a spy. He gets a call from his boss to come straight into the Admiralty. Now, you know where the Admiralty is, don't you?
Yeah.
Michael Caine gets in his gaff, gets out of his gaff, gets in his Ford Cortina, just drives down to the Admiralty, parks outside, and just runs into the building. And you think, oh, those were the days of motoring, weren't they?
They were. They were the days when I had my Mini with the hole in the floor. and you know, because it rotted, because they all did, and I could see the road underneath my feet, and you know, you could pull up and park anywhere. It was brilliant, but it is so miserable now. This war on motorists. Do we deserve it?
No, but there's a reason why Michael Caine's character was able to drive his Ford Cortina unhindered and unencumbered straight to where he wanted to. Because ordinary working folk didn't have cars. I grew up in Bury, Lancashire. I'm 61. I know I don't look it. I'm 61. I grew up in Bury, Lancashire on a terrace street of about 60 homes. There were three cars. Three. My dad used to cycle to work. It was about 1.5 miles. He used to cycle there and cycle back. When we got a car, he still cycled to work because he thought it was ridiculous to do such a short journey in a car. We are, to an extent, our own worst enemies. We think that every journey we get a car and then we think every single journey should be done by car. I can't remember the last time I drove from Manchester to London, and I'm talking decades since I've done that, because I can walk to the train station. It takes 2 hours and 8 minutes, and I'm at Euston. Why the hell would I drive?
Well, because trains aren't very reliable and they're really expensive.
Trains are, well, depends if you book it. And I suppose you're expecting me to come on and do the old Clarkson, I want to drive everywhere and I demand the right as a freeborn Englishman. We are our own worst enemies, let me say. People have got to let go of this idea that they need to drive everywhere. And I mentioned 1991 when I did first start appearing on Top Gear, because there was a census that year. And if you remember, I have looked it up, a few sources. Supposed to be a journalist, so I checked my sources. There were approximately 12 to 15 million fewer people in the UK back in 1991. And so guess what? Driving around was a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable because there weren't so many blinking people.
Yeah, when I first learned to drive, it was quite a pleasure. But now, but Steve, do you think that we deserve? I mean, because the number of ways you can be fined now, and the cameras that are everywhere, and all of that, and so even good drivers who are trying to do the right thing can end up with quite a hefty fine at the end of a day driving around London, if that's what you're doing. Do we deserve that?
No, not really. Not at all. Not at all. One of the most annoying things for me, plying my trade as a motoring journalist for 4 decades now, is the complete absence of any kind of recognition that cars have become massively safer than they used to be when I learned to drive, but are not just for the drivers and the passengers, for pedestrians as well. I looked up the stopping distance for the average car now. And in independent tests, they are stopping it in less than half the distance that the highway code says it needs to stop. Less than half. It's not even, the highway code says at 70 miles an hour, a car needs 100 meters to stop. And yet when I look at independent tests done by American and European car magazines who are comparing different marques and different brands, and they do tests on runways and racetracks, and they put the timing lights out, and they do it all scientifically and mathematically. They're doing it in under half what it tells us we need to do it. They've completely failed to recognise how much safer cars today are. And instead of saying, I tell you what, cars are a lot safer now, they're more stable, they can avoid accidents, much better. No, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the speed, instead of putting the speed limit up, we're going to bring it down.
Yeah.
So, of course, a Vauxhall Viva or a Morris Minor was much safer than a brand new BMW. So we're going to bring the speed limit down. We don't, you're right, we absolutely do not deserve it. But the motorist is, like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years now. And the motorist has always been the hanging donkey getting whacked with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It's never changed. And I think it might always be like that. They don't want us moving around too much. They'd rather we just, I don't want to be one of these 15-minute city conspiracy theory types, but truthfully, they don't want us to move about as much as we'd be used to, because there's too many of us. 70 million of us on these little islands. It's way too many. No wonder we're always side traffic jams.
I know, but the thing is that was certainly when I was growing up, and I was brought up in the countryside near Banbury in Oxfordshire, and in a little village, driving was my freedom. And even now, even though I don't need a car, probably, the thought of not having one scares me, because for me it is that ultimate freedom of choice. It is that ultimate moment where I can just decide I want to go and see my sister, or I want to go and, who lives up in Shropshire, or I want to, it is my idea of freedom. It is so important to me. And I think that a lot of people feel like that, don't they, about their cars?
People of, I don't want to come across as ungentlemanly, but people of the older age bracket, and I would very much put myself in that, might feel that. I've got 3 kids. They were brought up in a house where there were Porsches, Range Rovers, Mercedes, arriving on a weekly basis for me to try out. One of my unloved middle child, as she calls herself, she says her strongest memory of her first day at school was me taking her there in a bright yellow Chevrolet Corvette and then doing a donut in the school car park after I'd dropped her off. Of those 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy, now in their 30s, 1 has a driving license.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, my son, who's 28, he doesn't drive. So, and he's like, I don't see the point in it. But I am of that older generation, so I love my car and I'm clinging to it. Good to talk to you, Steve. Let's talk again. I enjoyed that. Steve Berry, motoring journalist and broadcaster, former Top Gear presenter from 1991 to 99. We're coming up to the news now, but Ed Wiseman will be with us after the break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
And a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you on Talk for the next couple of hours. And coming up at midnight, I want to talk to you about what it's like to be a motorist in this modern, lovely world that we're living in. Not least, of course, the cost of petrol at the moment is absolutely eye-watering. The cost of diesel, all of that, because of what's going on in the world. But also, even before that, it's become a pretty miserable pastime, driving. I used to love getting in my little old Mini, the proper old Mini, and just taking off, and just the freedom, the independence that gave me was just extraordinary. And even when I lived in London, when I moved to London as a late teen, early 20s, I just kept my car. It was just the best thing. And I have a Mini, not the same Mini, but I have a Mini today. But driving it, it's not so much fun anymore. And the reason is because there are so many ways you can get fined. I think my last fine, I drove along a road that I've driven for 20 years. 20 years, I didn't even think twice about it. To then get a notification in the mail that is now a low traffic neighbourhood, and the signs for that, by the way, are tiny, and you have to really look out for them. But if it's a road you're used to driving on for years and years and years and years and years, without warning, you suddenly get a fine. I think it was 130 quid, and it's like there's another road near me, and I did drive down it recently, and I'm cleared to drive down it because it's Hammersmith and Fulham, so it was okay. But I didn't notice it had now become a low traffic road that I was allowed to drive down, but I would have still driven down it because I've driven down it for decades, so it wouldn't even strike me as thinking about looking for a sign. So there are so many ways to get fined now. And then you've got the 20 miles an hour speed limit, which when that first came in was almost impossible to get used to, because if you habitually drive at 30, you know what the engine sounds like, you know what the car feels like, you know what the speed feels like. And suddenly you're down to 20, and I have to say that you're constantly looking at the speedometer and not the road. How does that save anybody? But it is now miserable. It is now becoming, again, the joy of the wealthy. Don't mention parking either. Don't even think about that. And like I said, the congestion charge now driving into London is 18 quid. 18 pounds. It started off as a fiver, and now it's 18 pounds because it was only ever going to go one way. And next year it will be 20 quid just to drive into London. So everything is making driving miserable and expensive. But I want to hear from you if you're one of these people who's been caught out by the 20 mile an hour speed limits that have been foisted upon us. London tested it first, and the congestion charge. I don't think any other city has picked up the congestion charge yet, though. I wonder why. But anyway, Leeds, you've got some 20 miles an hour roads coming to you. There are 20 mile an hour roads all over the place now. Have you been caught out in these? Because nearly 1 million of us have been, and it's a 32% increase in 3 years. And a lot of people are saying that's because we're terrible drivers and we're reckless and thoughtless and speeding. I actually think it's because we're being good, decent drivers are being caught out. But anyway, let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Calls charged at the national rate, but we do call you back. And text me, please. Text the word talk and then your message to 87222. Oh, and have you ever done a speed awareness course? I've never done one. Well, touch wood. There's no wood in here. It's all plastic. Yeah, I've never done one because I never. I was going to say been caught speeding. I've never speeded. Anyway, with me in the studio is Ed Wiseman, the man who is wise, and he also happens to be a transport and travel journalist. So this is right up your wheelhouse.
What a fabulous coincidence
that is.
Exactly.
Fabulous coincidence. Obviously, we'd like to say this was completely planned.
It would have been lovely, wouldn't it?
It would have been great if we could say that.
Well, luckily for me, there is always something about driving in the news at the moment.
True.
It used to be quite a quiet patch. When I started, nothing really happened.
And you wanted it because you're lazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You jest, but that is precisely what happened. I thought, you know what, I don't want to do death knocks.
Yeah.
I don't want to get shot at.
No,
I want to drive something nice periodically on the weekends and occasionally attend a conference about gearboxes.
Yeah.
And look at me now. hot property. Always being emailed for my thoughts on things.
Wow.
Complete disaster.
Yeah.
Not that I'm at all jealous of the people who are currently sort of stationed in Lebanon being shelled. I think that's far worse.
That's a little bit worse.
I'm still happy to be in London Bridge with sort of my bed awaiting me in about an hour and a half. But no, you're right. Driving is harder now than it used to be.
It's miserable.
I think it is. There are just more people. That's the elephant in the room.
That's what Steve Berry was saying.
Steve Berry was right, exactly. And I mean, he said he was on Top Gear in 1991, not long after I was born. If he's still listening at home, sorry to rub that in. It was the population of the UK was at least 10 million smaller than it is now. And the number of people who have cars, as you said, 3 people on the street having cars was probably, in the 70s, probably quite standard. Whereas now, a house might have 3 cars.
Well, that is true. It
really is. Outside London, of course, the number of people who have the number of households that have multiple cars is enormous. So you might have both parents with a car and a child.
And then maybe a nanny and maybe a child.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ed, I think we need to change your microphone out because it's glitching. No, it was the same thing happened last night at exactly the same time.
Oh, really?
Funnily enough. So I shall do some talking while you do some listening.
Honestly, that could be for the best.
It could be for the best, but it's not what the people want, Ed. They want you.
You think?
The rollout of 20-mile-an-hour zones across Britain has been blamed for a surge in the number of drivers getting points on their licences to almost 1 million. Last year's total is nearly a third higher than the 678,000 odd who received points for speeding in 2022. Some campaigners, of course, blaming that on, like I said, on us being reckless drivers and the culture of speeding, but others are saying no, it's because of these 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. More than a sixth of British roads now have this speed limit. That's 39,000 miles of the nation's 246,500 mile road network. Do you think that it is also the lowering of speed limits?
It's certainly a factor. When we talked about speeding, even 10 years ago, it was likely to be 40 and a 30, whereas now people are getting speed awareness courses for doing 25 miles per hour. So the target has changed. The goalposts have moved a little bit, but at the same time, cars have got a lot quicker. When you think about your first Mini, how long did it take you to get to 60 in that thing? Would it do 60?
Well, not up a hill.
Not up a hill, not if
Maybe
the wind was
down
blowing.
a hill.
Exactly, a wet Wednesday, all sorts of conditions.
And now, actually, I have to be really careful. On the motorway, I have to be really careful.
Absolutely.
Because it can suddenly... go, okay, I'm going
quite
1
quickly.
mile an hour over 70.
But that's true at the other end, at the low end as well. You can just give it the beans and suddenly you're doing 22 miles an hour very, very quickly. Back in the day, do you remember the Ferrari F40?
No.
For me, that was the absolute pin-up car in the 90s. That was cracking. I've always wanted one. That did 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. You can do that in a Kia now. You can do that just in an ordinary family car, like a top-spec family car, quite a nice one. But it's not uncommon to have a very ordinary-looking family 5-seater that can do 0 to 60 in 3-point-something seconds. So you only need to give it the beans for a very short amount of time, and you're doing sort of 40 miles an hour. Whereas you probably had to row your Mini quite hard. You were 10 seconds later, you still weren't doing 40 miles an hour, and sort of. I think we.
It was joyful. I mean, because I don't know if you remember the old Minis as well. The front there, they were like a bucket. There was nothing there, and the pedals were on long metal stalks.
Yeah.
And I used to have to wedge myself on the back of the chair and practically stand.
Yeah.
On the accelerator to get it to and urge it to move.
Leaning forwards, breathing in, sucking your cheeks in. Exactly.
To try and make it move.
And that was in quite recent memory. I mean, my first cars were a bit like that. You really had to give it the beans, but there's no giving it the beans anymore. You just put your right foot down, and you're already probably breaking the speed limit. It's very quick.
I know, but in towns, I mean, look, they don't have to make it miserable for us. I mean, why not have speed limits that for 20, because when I go home at 1 o'clock in the morning, there is no earthly reason why the roads need to be 20 miles an hour speed.
You're going west from here, aren't you?
Yeah.
I wonder how much quicker you would get home if you were doing 30 over 20. You could probably work it out.
I mean, it would feel quicker.
It would feel quicker, but it might not be that much quicker.
Well, it would be. It would be a third quicker, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends.
Because there's no traffic.
Assuming you're travelling at a constant speed, this is a maths exam question, isn't it? Assuming constant speed, assuming no traffic lights. Theoretically, assuming you were travelling straight at 30 until your front door. But realistically, when you're stopping at traffic lights,
but the point is that it seems punitive at that time in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, why isn't it up until, you know, midnight, 1 o'clock?
And then go for it.
No, then just set it for 30.
Yeah.
Or set it to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, of course, the A40's closed.
Mm-hmm. Exciting.
Only one of the most important routes into London.
Yeah.
Just closed.
Yeah. Well, you don't need that.
Till whenever.
Yeah.
There's no end date.
Exactly. We'll hear from Oxfordshire sometime in 2027.
Sometime in 2027 they'll open that again.
Yeah.
But it's not just the speed limits, it's all the other fines that go with it. I was just talking there about the low traffic neighbourhoods.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason for them.
Well, they're sort of transparently out to get you in some places.
They are out to get you. And I'm absolutely convinced of it. Like I said, these are roads that I've driven down for decades.
Yeah.
And suddenly you can't drive down there anymore. There's no warning. There's a tiny little sign that you're not even looking for. But this is the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they say, well, you should be looking. You can't read all the furniture.
No. There's a great deal of
so
info coming at you these days. We have a very cluttered streetscape in this city. And I think, as you point out, when they give you not very many opportunities to realise that you're driving down a street that is now verboten, it does feel like a bit of a wheeze. But then, you know, there are all sorts of wheezes going on. It's the same with the fly tipping fines. Everybody supports fly tipping fines in principle, but when they are implemented in the way that they are, i.e. if an envelope falls out of your wheelie bin, you're on the hook for £600 or £1,000. There are lots of those little stings.
But that's the other thing, isn't it? That these fines used to be handed out from a human being to a human being, and so there would be nuance to it. One time I was pulled over on the A40, funny enough, coming back from work, and a police officer there said, you were speeding, you were doing 40 in a 30.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. And he said, well, look, have you got your licence? I said, no. And he said, well, you have to turn up to Chiswick Police Station tomorrow and bring all your paperwork. But he said, look, I wasn't fined or anything. I just got a bit of a telling off. I think it helped that I was a young woman. But he said, look, the thing is with you speeding, there were 6 other cars behind you that were doing the same thing. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say there is that was a human being who was able to issue me with a telling off. Yeah. And I didn't do it again. But if that had been a camera, there's no nuance to it. There's no conversation to it. And these low traffic neighbourhoods as well. There's no, well, that was the first time I've ever done that. Why are you fining me? Why couldn't you just send me a letter saying, look, we've noticed this is the first time you've done this. Do you know that is now a low traffic neighbourhood?
Now you do.
Job done.
Yeah.
Next time you'll be fine.
There's quite a significant revenue basis to it, like the recent Croydon findings, the court ruling that sort of established that there was a bit of a sting going on, and that the finances were a big part of the policy. Yeah. Which I think there's going to be plenty more of this. Councils don't have any money. Nobody has any money, and any sort of opportunity to just fleece people just a little bit is going to be leapt on.
But it's not even a little bit. That's the thing. No. I mean, like I said, I had to go into town the other day, and I thought, well, it would be cheaper for me to drive than get a cab, because public transport is out for me, right? So I was drive or get a cab. I thought it would be much cheaper to go if I drive. By the time I paid for parking and 18 quid. To drive, I think it was not even 100 yards off the Marylebone Road. Yeah. That cost me 18 quid. Then there was the parking and all of that. It was pretty much on par.
It's a lot of cash.
That's a lot. Yeah. To drive your own car in a city that you live in and you pay for.
I think it's only going to get more expensive in London. In London in particular.
But what's the I mean, why?
Well, I think arguably there are too many cars here.
So it becomes the preserve of the rich again?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a very crude filter. I think they're reducing the number of cars by sort of sifting out the people who can't afford it, which is, in a sense, effective. Obviously, if you are toe-to-toe in your Range Rover, none of this matters.
None of this matters.
You have a car that's very up to date with emissions, because modern Range Rovers are, so you don't have to worry about the ULEZ stuff. And if it costs you £18, you probably earn that in 10 seconds because you're affluent. It's the same you see parked outside Harrods and the Ritz. You see these lovely cars that have 7 parking fines stuck to the windows. It doesn't matter. Don't care. If you're a sheik, it's just it's pennies.
Well, you probably don't even pay it anyway.
You possibly don't even pay, exactly, because good luck to the parking warden writing your Arabic number plate on the form.
Exactly.
I think that is exactly what's happening, really. And the rest of us are going to be
priced off the roads.
Well, pretty much, certainly in the city at least, which theoretically would be fine if we were able to use other types of infrastructure, if public transport was better or more affordable, and if taxis were
that's the other
reliable.
thing, is everything is so expensive, and they're going to be pedestrianising Oxford Street.
Yes.
They've been talking about that for years.
They've been talking about that for years, and it will probably be a conversation for another few years, I would imagine. When do you think that will happen? When do you think the last car will trundle down Oxford Street?
Well, I think that Sadiq Khan wants to get it done quickly.
I think so.
To be one of his legacy things. But I don't know how it's going to work, because as far as I can see, the cars will be able to go across Oxford Circus.
Cars will go across at a couple of places.
At the top, near the circus.
And bikes will have to go across much further down. I don't remember the map by heart.
And buses can't go down.
Buses have to go a different way. Buses have to go north, I think.
Good job I hate Oxford Street, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Why would you go to Oxford Street anyway?
I suppose it's out of towners that go there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really go to central London very often.
There's the mothership of Primark is there.
Yes, true. And a couple of other things.
And Marks and Spencer.
They've reopened that, haven't they?
Yeah, they tore that building down, didn't they?
Apparently had lots of asbestos. I remember chatting to somebody about it. But anyway, as you kind of allude, yes, it will be more difficult to drive into central London, but as I kind of allude, why would you go to Leicester Square anyway? I think it's just the city changes over time, and what you remember as you probably remember driving down Oxford Street, you probably remember driving down Regent Street. Hellish now, just awful, a horrible experience unless you're being actively paid to be there. Nobody's going to take that opportunity these days because there are just too many cars in the city. So they're understandably.
So they have to fine us off the roads.
I think there's a lot of carrot and not very much stick. I'm in Southeast, where public transport is fine in parts but quite dicey in others. And there have been a lot of efforts to implement low traffic neighbourhoods with the idea that everyone's just going to cycle everywhere, or get buses that are also being eroded. They change where the trains go to. The bus no longer goes to the big Sainsbury's in Charlton, and the percentage of people who can adequately cycle up Greenwich Hill, I would estimate, is less than 1 in 5. Yeah, I've done it twice.
Yeah, that's a heck of a
hit. It's not nothing. No. It's not nothing. So I think it's we're going to see plenty more of this. There will be some good things to come of it as well.
Yeah, I just think it's a real shame, because it used to be a joy. It used to be a freedom.
It used to be freedom.
It used to be freedom, but it isn't anymore. There's a message here that says London has a fantastic public transport system used by millions who don't need a car. Well, that's not strictly true of some people. I'm immune compromised, so getting into public transport could be a death sentence, and certainly not worth risking me getting so ill that I'm off work for a month and lose a month's money. Right, so I will drive, or I'll be in a cab. And also public transport, it's expensive.
It can be. It can be very expensive, depending on where you're trying to get to. The buses are great. You can just that's quite good value. But commuting costs in London can be, depending on where you are, incredibly expensive.
Incredibly expensive.
I think the public transport network in the city is pretty decent. It is on the pricey side, no matter which way you spin it. But it is
most expensive in Europe.
Yes. Most expensive in Europe, and with wages stagnating as they are, that is obviously a bit of a pressure at the lower end. And a lot of people won't be, if you are earning minimum wage, commuting by car. But it has a knock-on effect on everything. The cost of just getting around, people and cargo, the cost of that rising has a knock-on effect on pretty much pretty much everything that we do in the city. But I'm personally optimistic. I think that eventually we will be in a position where the roads do go back to an appreciably empty state, where the amount of traffic does dwindle.
And only rich people are driving around and shouting at us plebs.
Possibly, exactly, stubbing their cigars out from the window of their Range Rovers. Yeah. But in principle, I feel like what you're sort of talking about with your situation, there should be a much clearer relationship with people who are on the road and the people who need to be on the road. You need to be on the road. You shouldn't be penalised off it. There's no real civic purpose for that.
And there are plenty of people. I don't have a disabled badge because I'm not disabled. I'm just immune compromised. So there are plenty of people, maybe disabled people, don't have to pay as much and things like that. But it's just such a shame that it's just so blooming miserable. And
there's a million reasons why you might need a car. I think, for maybe more than half of people can get public transport, but there's always people who finish late like you. I mean, I don't know how long it would take you to get back to your house.
Well, I would have to walk.
Yeah, you'd either have to walk, you'd have to get a bus some of the way and then a bus the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Even
if they're running.
Even if they're running, I have to get a rail replacement from outside sometimes, and it's fine when it works, but when you've just missed one and you're standing.
The two words that Londoners hate the most.
Yeah, I'm fine. You know, I'm a big burly bloke technically if you squint, and if you don't talk to me for too long,
you're terrifying.
I'm probably
terrifying.
So I don't mind standing and sort of London
Very
Bridge
butch.
gets quite beery.
It does get beery.
It can be just a bit of a miserable place, and if you've just missed the rail replacement, and this I'm usually trying to catch it at 10 past midnight. So if it's just gone round the corner and I'm going to be standing there for 25 minutes, I can't begrudge anybody who would drive home, because you could be back at my flat in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Whereas I'm going to be sort of just weaving my way around South London on the top deck of a bus that smells horrendous and probably has some quite special characters on it.
Yeah, sleeping there for the night.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they've probably gone to Dartford and back 3 or 4 times if it's the rail replacement.
I mean, probably. I don't know. It just feels like such a shame. I know it's something we're going to have to let go of, but it just feels like such a shame, because it's always been so important to me.
This has been happening since the dawn of the motor car. It was the preserve of rich people from the very beginning,
and
gradually,
it will be again.
And their freedoms were eroded. And you obviously know the history of the AA and how speed limits were treated in Parliament and by all sorts of road safety organisations. And so it's been over a century now of just chipping away. As cars become more popular and more ingrained in life, they're less
miserable,
less fun.
Fair. Not fair.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you, and with me is Ed Wiseman, transport and travel journalist. Let's have a look at the Telegraph, Ed.
Never mind the channel, never mind Iran. Gentleman's relish.
Gentleman's
It's
relish.
toast after 200 years. Did you hear about this?
No.
It's the third nib along next to the Matt cartoon.
Oh yes.
Are you aware of gentleman's relish? The
Yes, I
anchovy
am
paste
aware of
on
it.
toast?
It's a fishy spread, isn't it?
It's anchovy butter. Yeah, exactly. Toast after 200 years, allegedly, to be discontinued.
No.
Do
Do you think there'll be a lot of people who'll be upset about that?
Yes, and they will be very upset. It's quite a big part of a lot of people's daily routine, and nothing really
What do you
replaces
put it on?
Toast, buttery toast,
Buttery toast.
buttery white toast, preferably. Yes.
Yeah, I had buttery white toast with peanut butter and Marmite today.
Peanut butter. That's a great combo. My dad does that.
Great combo.
That's his.
First time I've tried it. It was really good.
You can mix it up sometimes. Bovril, also delicious in exactly the same ratio, and almond butter.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have got some almond butter.
try it. Try
Yeah,
Bovril
I'll
and
give it
almond
a
butter
try.
for pudding.
So gentleman's relish is to go.
Yeah.
But I remember when they tried to take salad cream away.
Yeah, what was that about?
They tried to get rid of it, and then lots of people were very upset about it, and they brought it back. So
Yeah.
maybe they'll bring back gentleman's relish.
Or maybe somebody will pirate it. Do you know, somebody will
do a version of
I
it.
can't imagine it's difficult to make. Surely it's just anchovies and butter.
Well, you can make your own then.
Well, maybe I will. Maybe I will be the one to fill the gap.
Yeah.
here.
It's you, is it? You love this stuff, do you?
I mean, honestly, I probably
I
represent.
think I've ever eaten it.
I would be. I probably represent a non-negligible percentage of its sales. I probably consume sort of a statistically significant proportion of it. So maybe that's why it is dwindling.
It's easy to make. I mean, they're saying here that they pack anchovy fillets into barrels of salt to mature before blending them with butter, rusk and herbs. Easy.
The first part of that process sounds quite smelly and might be unpopular as an activity for me to do in my airing cupboard, but I can give it a go. I'll report back next time.
Report back
next time I'm on. I'm worried.
know.
I wrote an article very recently for the Daily Telegraph about how Gentleman's Relish, among other things, has been largely unchanged since its inception. How I possibly did this. I possibly jinxed it. There are only about a dozen or so sort of old school British classics that are exactly as they were. Most of them have been sold to the Americans and made far worse.
Can you write a piece about Donald Trump? Maybe you can get rid of him.
Lots of people are writing pieces about Donald Trump. I don't know if I think I probably have left my career to kind of my geopolitical insights to atrophy a little bit since deciding at a very early age to not bother with it. But maybe if I write to the news desk and say, hey, can I stop writing listicles about condiments?
Yeah.
They'll let me try my hand at
and then maybe they'll
news.
discontinue.
Possibly.
So the other stories that are obviously
the lesser stories,
Iran threatens to restart the war over Lebanon bombardment. This fragile ceasefire, which wasn't even, I think it was just about agreed this time 24 hours ago. Already appears to be on the ropes.
Within hours. There was another bombardment just now, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
There's kind of a notional ceasefire, but nobody really knows what. It feels like the American administration doesn't really know what to do with that situation. There's been no clear messaging from them or anybody else, actually.
No, I mean, like I was saying earlier on, it's. I just don't believe anybody. I mean, I know that truth is the first casualty of war, etc. But
it was dead before this one started.
But
really.
There's no truth anywhere. It's just all lies, and it's becoming really annoying. Let's have a look at the Times. Airstrikes risk blowing apart the fragile ceasefire. Looking on the bright side of life could cut dementia risk. So, are you an optimistic person? No.
It's hard to. I think so. I think I am. I think broadly I am.
Are you?
I look on the bright side of life generally, I think.
Glass definitely half full?
Most of the time, yeah.
It's just your face doesn't.
No, it doesn't really convey it. No. You only ever see me at about midnight, to be fair.
To be fair, that is true.
Yes, I see.
But this is maintaining an optimistic outlook on life as you age is linked to reducing your risk of developing dementia by at least 15%.
Is this one of those causal correlation statistics?
Yeah.
In the same way that riding horses prolongs your life,
Yeah.
does it not just mean that you're rich?
Yeah.
Does it not just mean that things are going well? If you have been dealt a bad hand, if you're broke and you're ill, you're probably less likely to have a sunny disposition than somebody who is minted and healthy.
Yeah, that's very true.
And maybe,
I'm with you on that.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe the scientists know what they're doing.
I mean, the only thing is that I do believe helps to ward off this type of thing is doing lots of things like crosswords and puzzles, and I knit now.
Yeah.
So knitting is apparently the hand-eye coordination is very good for your brain, and I paint obviously, so that is help. So things like that to keep your brain functioning, rather than being, sitting and passively watching the television. If you are going to do that, take up knitting.
I went on holiday recently, and during that time I didn't really check my emails, and it took me about 6 days to get my mental acuity back. I think that just sitting and staring at a screen as bad news pours into your eyeballs and people ask you to do things that don't matter, I think that is probably, as you say, knitting is probably better for your soul than just dealing with someone else who's sent you the file in JPEG format, not PDF, like you asked for the third or fourth time, and has then gone on holiday, and it's a long weekend because it's an Orthodox holiday in Greece, and they're not going to reply to you until the Tuesday after you need the document.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is going to get people. This is what's going to get people. This is what's going to make people ill. This is where people are going to be in their nursing homes, having spent their entire working lives just dealing with stress on a laptop.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, it is such a shame. Yeah.
I don't know.
And it is very difficult to be optimistic at the moment.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to be aware and optimistic. And I think that's the other reason. It's probably better to be peacefully ignorant. It's probably better.
I've got one of my best mates, my oldest friend. We've known each other since we were about 8 years old. The only news she reads is the local village newsletter.
Yeah. There's something quite powerful about that.
Yeah, or the Facebook group.
Yeah.
When she finds out that, they're chucking away a chest of drawers, I need one of those.
Yeah, but perfect. I've been waiting for months for that. Yeah, exactly. Oh, the bowling green is changing its opening hours. It'll now be open from 8. And then
she said that's the only news.
Yeah, knowing what's happening in your community is something very natural for human beings. Knowing what's happening in the Strait of whatever is actually a little bit weird. There's nothing I can really do about it.
No, I mean, look, it's. Sometimes I wish I could just switch that off, but unfortunately I can't.
Well, you're contractually obliged to know a little bit about it.
A little bit about stuff, which is good.
Every now and again. But then, if you stopped working here and you became a full-time painter, would you still check the news as often as you do? Or would you go and live in a yurt somewhere?
I probably would.
For a while, you would.
Yeah,
but
I'm a bit obsessed with it.
But then eventually you'd realise, I haven't checked the news today, I wonder what's happening, and you just give it a quick once-over in the evening, and then the following day you might not even do that. And eventually you would be on the village Facebook group.
I'd love that.
Talking about, they changed the colour of the postbox very slightly. It's not the same as it used to be.
It's not the same red as it was.
Exactly. 800-word paragraph.
Can you imagine? I would definitely. I want to be a cantankerous old lady.
Oh, you should. You should pivot your energy from global news into just being...
Just local stuff, really small, local.
Yeah, exactly. The church.
Well, actually, I'm really cross at the moment because somebody's attached their bike to my railings.
The railings at the front of your house?
Yeah, and they're my railings.
Definitely wasn't you. You definitely didn't cycle.
Definitely, and it's been there for weeks.
You would remember. Well, that's kind of odd.
I've started to ask neighbours now, is that your bike?
Do you think, how did that even happen?
I don't know. They're just attached to my
it's kind of unusual, really.
Yeah, I just thought, maybe they're just doing that for overnight and then it's been there for ages.
Yeah, maybe they've forgotten.
Well,
they think it's their house.
They must have come home drunk.
That's the thing.
That's what they've done.
That's the thing.
We're going to take a break. Back in a sec.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie, and with me, Ed Wiseman. The independent Ed, quite an extraordinary photograph there from somewhere in Iran. Of course, this is propaganda. Burning flags of America and Israel, and the US saying Iran begged for a truce and must dig up the hidden uranium. This sort of language, I mean, it is goading, isn't it? It's poking the bear. Why say, oh, they begged for it? Why, if you're looking for peace or you're looking for a ceasefire, why use language like this?
But also, it doesn't sound like it's quite accurate either. It feels like they're playing to their particular gallery. I've noticed this a lot, actually, about the way that comms is undertaken. A lot of organisations are very careful about comms these days.
Yeah.
There's whole teams of people filtering things, pre-chewing stuff before it gets out to the public. The current US administration doesn't seem to have any decorum or dignity. It's just there's almost unfettered access.
But it would be like me with an ex saying, getting back together with him. And then letting the world saying to the world, well, he begged me. He begged to take me back.
It's like, all right,
that's
okay,
not
fine.
going to help the relationship.
Well, it's also quite an implausible thing to say. It feels like, why are you telling me this?
Exactly.
You wouldn't be telling me this if it was true.
Were true.
Yeah, and I think that kind of language, in that sense, is very clearly communicative. But it sits so starkly at odds with diplomatic convention and modern PR. When you think about the very measured, very clipped, quite curt and very overly considered messaging that comes out of Number 10, for example, or any of the European administrations.
I just can't see that it's going to be helpful in any way.
Well, it's helpful for them because it appeals to
base.
Precisely. They're not talking to us. They're not talking to Iran. They're talking to their own base.
That's very true.
Which is I think they're probably quite worried about. I think they're probably worried about making sure that they stay engaged and enraged, which is what's put them there in the first place. Because as soon as they disengage and as soon as they lose that, the saber rattling energy, I think they're just. And
he's worried about the midterms.
Oh, completely.
But it also says here, Trump claims he's agreed a joint venture with Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. That's Trump wanting to charge tolls. Yeah. And I don't know why he thinks he's entitled to.
I mean, I assume you're entitled to what you can get away with in that.
He won't get away with it.
No, of course
he won't get away with it.
What do you think will happen in the midterms? I was going to ask you that.
If they go ahead and they're fair, I think the Republicans will be crushed.
Completely? You think it will be decisive?
I think it'll be decisive because I think a lot of people in America are deciding that the non-voters were a bigger part to play as anything else, and they are motivated. And when you see 8 million people out on the streets with no kings, but there's a lot of interference going on at the moment with the elections. Yeah. So whether they go ahead and they're free and fair, that's what I can't call.
And the gerrymandering and all of the other
all of those things, and also there's always the question of Trump accepting the result.
Yes.
I mean, it's not so easy to do in the midterms because that would just be, look, these senators were voted or these Congress people or whatever. But still, there'll be all sorts of claims of especially if it is as decisive as it's understood to be. Then there will be a lot of, there's cheating and we want a recount, and there'll be a lot of that going on. So it'll be a mess. That's my prediction for the midterms. It will be an absolute unmitigated mess.
Yeah. For a while as well.
For a while.
They don't do swift transitions of power.
No, they really, really don't. So the Daily Mail saying a bizarre kind of victory. Donald Trump's peace deal with Iran was hanging by a thread as Tehran halted tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. And all the signs your husband has miserable man syndrome.
Oh, that'll be good. Starts page 29 of female. Maybe that's me.
Because girls need their own news.
Yes, very large print in pink.
Large print in pink and stories about makeup and men.
Female
we're not interested in anything else.
Female does do some quite good stuff as well, doesn't it?
Does it? I don't read it on principle.
I think they're quite.
I won't read anything that on principle.
That is targeted specifically at
Girlies.
your pretty little lady head.
Yeah,
Yes.
my pretty little lady head, exactly.
I think some of them are quite good.
Well, you might want to read that
Maybe
for your girlfriend's sake.
Maybe I'll buy the Daily Mail for £1.30 tomorrow, but possibly not.
Just to find out if you have got miserable man syndrome. Cracks in the ceasefire deal, says the Daily Mirror, and it goes on. And it will do. UK mine hunter drones to protect oil in Hormuz, but fuel bill set to stay high. Yeah. We got rid of all of our mine hunter ships because they were old. They were all put out to sea, basically. They were all just absolutely not fit for purpose. And we're developing these mine hunters, incredible mine hunter drones, actually. It's a really smart technology. But it was just being tested last year. So I don't know if they've completed the testing of it.
Well, they might have to pivot to a real-world scenario
to test while they're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it's amazing technology. I mean, like, extraordinary.
Well, it seems like a great job for a drone. Send a drone in, and if it gets blown up,
then
that's
it's only a drone.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what Iran are doing, isn't it? They've got these boats, these remote control boats that they're loading up with explosives and sending into the side of shipping.
Yeah. It's quite crude, but it's very effective.
Very effective. Yeah, absolutely.
It's an interesting mixture of sort of World War I level armament, of just sending sort of torpedoes off and bombs strapped to stuff that floats, and drones controlled by.
There really is. I mean, if you look at some of the hardware that Iran has been using, it's really old stuff.
Some of it's
really
very old
stuff. It still does the job.
Yeah.
Because you're literally just lobbing it.
Yeah,
right? They're not guided or anything. You're just lobbing a bomb. So it doesn't need to be smart or anything. But a lot of the weapons that they've been given by China, of course, are state of the art. So there's a lot more weapons going into Iran than we're being told.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie, and with me, Ed Wiseman, going through the papers. So the Metro's got a rather optimistic front page. Oil over, bar the shouting. After 40 days of chaos, is it really peace?
I wonder what the Metro is trying to be with this headline. It's kind of a...
I think somebody just came up with the headline, oil over.
Yeah.
And they wanted to use it.
Yeah. And then somebody...
And then they built a story around it.
And somebody deleted the comma after over quite late in the day. And so, the kerning is off. Yeah, very odd. I don't really know what they're going with the cartoon either.
No.
But it's all very jolly. It's all very jolly. I think... we are sort of in this slightly post-truth phase, and reporting so doesn't matter because of how quickly things are moving. They know that when people pick this up tomorrow morning,
it'll already have moved on.
Everything will have moved on, and everybody will be previously you'd read the paper on the train and that would inform you, but now people have
that's very true.
HD footage of the bombs.
And you wake
Lebanon.
up and first thing you do is look at the news on your phone. That's what I do anyway.
And so this is kind of a bit of an artifact. So I understand why they've gone with a whimsical little cartoon. And kind of a...
It is very difficult for the papers at the moment, because last night when we were doing this exact same thing, going through the papers, they were already out of date because by then the bombing had been stopped by the ceasefire. So it was already. I did feel sorry for them, because it's just like, well,
but what do you do?
You know that.
Well, the thing is, you just have to do more actual proper analysis rather than trying to chase very short
the actual
form.
news. Because at the moment it is absolutely.
We'll leave that to the web teams, but the FT has been doing some great analysis,
great stuff.
and Bloomberg actually, to its credit, lots of the online publications have been doing really detailed analysis of what's been going on in quite technical terms. So the front pages aren't what they used to be. I don't think the front page matters as much as it did even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's very, very difficult to call it at the moment. And the Daily Express going with Destination El Dorado UK, and French police watch on as migrants set off in Channel boats. This seems to be an endless stream of people, doesn't it?
And an endless stream of headlines for the Daily Express. There has been a significant reduction in the number of people arriving by small boat, I think, but it's still a fairly significant.
It's just images like that just make people. You can see that they're largely all young men, and it does worries people, and I think it's fair enough that people are concerned about it, and nothing seems to be being done. I think that's the worst of it, isn't it, for people? Is that they can't see any. There's no direction of travel to try and stop it,
or at least there's no tangible impact. Yeah. There's no, I don't know what people want to see. I don't know what people want to, how people want to perceive it.
We're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the thing in this country, and what we've got to do is fundamentally change. And set up places outside of the country where people can claim asylum. And then if there was somewhere else they could claim asylum, you could actually make these boat arrivals illegal. Yeah. Because you could say, well, no, you have a safe route to get here. The fact that you've come across on a boat, it is now illegal. At the moment, it isn't illegal because the only place you can claim asylum is on British soil. Yeah. So it's not difficult. You just have to set up hubs around the world where people can claim asylum, and then if they don't do it that way, they are immediately rejected and returned.
But I think that would be politically unpalatable, because you would be perceived to be making things easier for asylum seekers by.
But it wouldn't be making it easier.
That would be the spin, wouldn't it? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be the person inaugurating.
Because if you were turned down for your asylum application, and that was, you applied for that in, let's say, Hungary, not that that is the country you would ever apply for it, but then you haven't made it to the British shores, so you're not being rejected and then using courts and things to try and stay. You just wouldn't be able to get in. And then if you then went, well, if I can't get in via that route, then I'll go by a boat. You can then say, well, that is an illegal crossing. But you can't do that right now, because that's the only way you can claim asylum.
Thinking about the next few steps, would there not just be a glut of stories about how people are getting flown from a Hungarian processing centre out straight to Gatwick to have all their benefits paid, and I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, they would have to. You would just be like, You would just get your permission to come to the UK, then you'd have to find your way to the UK.
I don't know.
You wouldn't have to fly in there.
I would, if I was a press officer for the Home Office, I would run from that idea for miles.
Well, I think it's the only solution.
It could be. It could be. Or we could simply make the UK just so unpleasant and expensive to live in that people just row their boats right back to Calais.
Turn back round.
I don't know what Germany has had a big influx of asylum seekers as well. I just wonder what other countries around the world.
Well, they're now thinking of safe third countries for just sending them across and then having their, like the Rwanda plan.
I was going to say I hear Rwanda has some nice facilities
that we've paid for.
Yeah. Tell you what, I mean, I don't know. How much would you take? How much would you take to move to Kigali?
I don't think there's enough money.
Oh, really? You wouldn't even think about it?
No.
Because I'm sure there are people out there who would
in Kigali
in the UK just think, I'll give you $100,000 to go and start afresh out in Rwanda.
No.
You reported from Rwanda.
No, I did. I've been to Kigali.
Yeah. How long ago? Presumably during the genocide. A long time ago. Not to hammer home that how long
old
ago.
I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and how youthful I am.
Yeah, all right.
But no, I don't really remember that conflict.
Is that? Mind you, I was taking the mick out of my older brother yesterday. Who was here? So,
did he come back in yesterday?
Yes,
I chatted to him last time when he was in a few months ago. Yeah, no, really nice guy.
You and he remind me of each other a bit.
Oh, really?
Actually. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder who I don't know. Who would he be offended at that? Do you think?
You know what I mean, though, don't you, Gabriella? Yeah.
No, I recognise it. He's well, no, I mean he's had a fascinating career.
You
both have. You both have.
He really has. I mean, absolutely amazing. But I don't know. I mean, that picture will certainly wind people up tomorrow.
Yes, and that's why they publish them.
Yeah.
And that's
now the Grand National. Are you a fan?
I was a fan.
It's this weekend, isn't it?
I used to have a bet, but then I sort of thought about the poor horses.
Yeah.
Am I becoming a bit of a lefty liberal tree hugging London sort of? I don't know.
Knitting your own yoghurt.
Yeah, a little bit. No, I just quite like horses, but I know I probably won't watch it. I have bet over the years, probably a sum total of £100.
Yeah, I used to always put
£2.50 each way on the horse with the city's name.
No, I won't be watching it either. But Red Rum jockey turned trainer Ginger McCain, his grandson Toby is riding in the Grand National with a lock from the famous horse's mane inside his glove.
That should do the trick.
So that's Red Rum, obviously, was the famous horse, and Ginger's grandson has a lock of hair in his glove. There you go.
They're going to ban greyhound racing. Do you think that they banned it in Wales, haven't they? But do you think it'll ever be banned in England?
I don't know why you'd want to ban it.
Well, it's bad for the dogs, theoretically. Yeah, I think
they seem to quite enjoy it.
I mean, I don't think they're that bright. I don't think greyhounds are known for their intellect.
I mean, I don't know whether it will be a massive loss. I remember going to a greyhound racetrack for a friend of mine's hen party.
Yeah.
I hate hen parties.
Do you like greyhound racing?
Not particularly.
Sounds like a pretty rubbish night out.
It was pretty painful.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. Well, I don't know where the nearest greyhound track is. Is there one still in London?
There must be one in Waltham. Is it Walthamstow?
Does Walthamstow still have one?
It sort of rings a bell.
Because there was one out east, sort of southeast, and I think that closed.
Crayfield.
Crayford closed.
I think. Did that close?
I think it closed quite recently.
Well, if it's one in Romford. Right. Well, I mean, if it's cruel to the dogs, then it should be stopped. But I don't know about the National is definitely cruel to the horses. A
lot of them die.
Yeah, they do.
It's a bit of a shame.
But I'm not a keen watcher of racehorses.
Are you a gambler?
No.
Are you a bettor?
No.
Not at all.
No.
I don't understand it as a vice.
No.
People get really into it, but it just leaves me cold.
Yeah, it doesn't entertain me at all. Even because the National's over so quickly, the main race. So no, I don't. No, I don't get any
small races. Sometimes I go to like the point-to-points.
Oh, the point-to-points are fun.
Quite fun.
Yeah.
A bit of a hoot.
Yeah.
Going
25p each way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. 25p each way, while you drink a tepid Pimm's in the drizzle. Brilliant. Yeah. That's good, clean British fun.
That's good, clean British fun.
But no, I'm not going to go to Ladbrokes. I'm not going to go to Ladbrokes and put a fiver on red rums.
And it's all. I mean, there's no. You just pick a name because you can't really.
No.
You can't really style it out with the national because anybody could win.
Well, I can't style it out with any of them, to be honest. I don't really understand it. I'm pleased that people are pleased. I'm pleased that people enjoy it, but it's absolutely not for me.
Yeah,
I don't think.
not for me either. Have you got any of today's stories?
I just wanted to sort of to finish on the note that China makes most of the world's photovoltaic modules, solar panels, and so every push towards renewables, which is arguably quite a good outcome from all of the Middle Eastern nonsense.
Oh yeah, it's the only way we're going to be truly independent.
Precisely, but independent from oil, but not independent from
China.
China, which owns pretty much that whole industry. And I think it's quite an interesting talking point that nobody is really discussing, including Ed Miliband, that
is very true, that either we get into bed with China or we stay in bed with oil.
And so, we're going to be staying in bed with oil regardless, to some extent, probably for the rest of our lives. It's just the extent to which we're going to be having to buy all of our photovoltaic.
And why is China the one that makes the most? They've just got the technology.
They've got the technology, they've got the raw minerals, they've got the state subsidies for their factories. They've absolutely swamped the market, and they can undercut
and they're
Europe.
Cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Then
this is how they rule the world.
And they're so much cheaper.
Yeah.
They are so much cheaper, and because they're cheaper, they get the more momentum in their industry. The R&D there is absolutely incredible. They've broken through so many barriers, and photovoltaic panels are so much better than they were 10 or 20 years ago.
This is how they rule the world.
And why would you be a photovoltaic manufacturer in Europe when you're having to produce such a high cost?
This is what China does, and this is what they do brilliantly.
And they have all the stuff.
Yeah, they have all the stuff, and we need it. So, Ed Wiseman, I nearly called you Ed Miliband then. Ed Wiseman, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Petrie.
Thank you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next hour, and this is Talkback, so it's your chance to do exactly that. And this morning I want to have a moan with you. about the state of driving in this country at the moment. A pastime that used to be so enjoyable, even if you just were, dropping your kids off at school or doing something. It used to be quite an enjoyable pastime to get in your car, the independence of that, that last minute decision to go and see a friend, go and have dinner somewhere, drive into town, park your car, go and have a meal and drive back, all nice and safe and snug in your own car. Well, that is now a long forgotten memory, isn't it? Because driving now is just miserable. It is miserable. It's unrelenting and it's miserable. And it's miserable not just because there are so many cars on the road, but because of the fines that you get every time you leave, you get into your car, you leave your front door. There's every time. If I drive anywhere, I'm always thinking, oh, I wonder what I did. I don't even know if I've done anything wrong, particularly in London. There's streets that you can't drive down because then they've got tiny little signs telling you that this is now a low traffic neighbourhood for no apparent reason. You've got, the cost of parking, the cost of driving into London, 18 quid, £18 to drive into London now. Like I said, the cost of parking on top of that, and then the very real possibility or probability that you're going to get a fine for something you didn't even know you were doing wrong in the first place. So these low traffic neighbourhoods are a rip-off. They're an absolute rip-off. No bollards in the roads, nothing to tell you that there is a low traffic neighbourhood apart from a tiny little sign attached to a lamppost amongst 6 other signs. And you're supposed to read them every single time, even though you've driven down those roads for 10 years, 20 years, and they catch you out. There you go, there's another fine. Photograph of your car, and off you go. It's miserable. It makes driving just horrible. So, what fines have you got that have been ridiculous? I mean, on top of that, of course, there's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is now seeing so many people get done for speeding if they've gone 1 or 2 miles over that. Look, a speed limit is a speed limit, and we should all obey the speed limits, right? It's as simple as that. It is, and obviously, pretty much in London, it's 20 miles an hour. Right, there's only a few roads that are 30 now, so you edge. I just hedge my bets now and do 20. But I'm never out second gear. You're constantly looking at your speedometer because of the fear of going even just 1 or 2 miles an hour over. So I don't think it's that much safer because we're not concentrating on the roads. But anyway, it's what they want us to do. So, are you still enjoying driving? Do you go out? Do you look forward to it when you can get in your car? I mean, last year I drove my car so infrequently that I had to get a new battery for it. And it's not an old banger. I mean, it's not new, but it's not old. So I had to get a new battery for it because I very rarely drove it because it's so unpleasant to drive. So one way or the other, they are killing the joy of driving. So give me a call. Let me know. Do you still enjoy it? Do you still look forward to getting? I mean, I like driving. I like it. It's nice. And with 2 dogs, I'm not going to go on public transport with that crazy puppy of mine. But it's convenient. It's good. I like it. And why shouldn't I? It's supposed to be a free country, although driving, of course, is anything but free. Like I said, even to park outside my own, in my own street, it costs me 130 quid a year. Then you've got the road tax or whatever it's called now. So everything about driving is expensive and unpleasant. Are they trying to push us out of our cars? Are you prepared to give up your car? Have you given up your car? And what fines have you had that have been, you just think, come on, that is just raising cash. That's just trying to get money out of me. It's a miserable feeling. 0344 499 1000. Give me a call. Calls charged at national rate, but we call you back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. Let's go to the phones now. And Luke is in Bromley. Hello, Luke.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Super, thank you. Very good. And I love driving myself. I really enjoy it. I find it an opportunity to be equal with other people. When you've got a disability, it means that you can literally keep up with everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like helping people with lifts and driving the family around and, going to places I want to be. So I make the most of it, to be honest. I enjoy every aspect of it.
So you're in Bromley. What are the road conditions like in Bromley? Are there lots of low traffic?
Fantastic. No, it's hard. There's not many speed cameras. There's not many police around, so you don't sort of have fear. There's no 20 miles an hour zones, which is helpful, apart from past a few schools. When we do go through one, it's like, goodness me, what's going on 20 miles an hour? Because that's dangerous.
It's really slow, isn't it?
Well, you spend half the time trying to make sure you don't exceed 20 miles an hour from the start.
That's exactly what I was saying. I don't think it's safer. I can't see how it's
third gear. It's not economical either.
No.
In fact, you're more likely to accelerate quickly because you're in a lower gear, rather than fourth or fifth, because third obviously will accelerate quicker. So it's not right. It doesn't add up. It's just trying to put us onto public transport. That's what it's trying to do. And I back reform when they say they're going to scrap 20 miles an hour when they come in.
Yeah, I mean, I would back scrapping 20 miles an hour because it doesn't seem to be. I don't know what difference it's making. I mean, in London anyway, you can't. There's not really much of an opportunity to go above 20.
That doesn't matter because sometimes there is, like nighttime and things. You don't want to go 20 miles an hour, 24 hours a day. I just think, look, they should be responsible, obviously. But look, what is it now? The Green Party just announced they're going to reduce the speed limit to 55 on motorways. It's one of their policies. I mean, that's a joke. 55
on a motorway?
Yeah, they said it last Friday. And 20 miles an hour across the country.
Yeah, that. Why? I mean, I suppose it would save. I mean, you burn a lot less fuel at 55.
Well, they're trying to get people out of their cars, but the ironic thing is they're trying to get everyone into electric cars as well. So they'll defeat their own argument because if everyone's electric, they don't give off the fumes that they're trying to stop.
Yeah, exactly. That does defeat the argument. But it also would depend on making trains more affordable and also making them better at running.
Yeah. Personally, though, I mean, I've got challenges walking sometimes of the day and stuff. I can't use public transport much because it's too far to walk.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. You can't anticipate really so easily. So I'm not one of those that can use a bus, really. It's not so easy walking to the nearest bus stop. Then you've got older people who are probably in the same boat. Well,
it's certainly, I mean, this is, again, what people don't think about. And they say there's a great public transport. They've got a message here saying it's great public transport, you don't need a car. But, think about, that's you've got people who are going to do a weekly shop,
sure,
right, from a supermarket. How are you supposed to get that home?
And for those who live in London, they face ULEZ, that wretched thing that said it cardboard in, which costs people loads of money. We used to pay £350 a month just to drive around Bromley and Orpington. What a joke! Because we couldn't afford a car which was under 6 years old, and it would have cost more to do that. So it's cheaper stuck in a car we had to pay £1,250 a day or whatever it was.
Did you have to do that?
Yeah, for 7 months I spent.
7 months at £350 a month?
Yeah. Because it was too expensive.
Because you had an older car, yeah.
Well, I had a car. I mean, I actually had a Jag, believe it or not. And so, because ULEZ came in, it's only depreciated from 13 grand down to 3. So I thought, well, I can't sell it now. It's not worth it. I have to keep it. It's cheaper just to be fined every day. But what happened then was, because I employed a whole load of cleaners, they had to get rid of their cars because they couldn't afford to run the cars, which meant they couldn't give their mums and people lifts to the supermarket and to church and all that stuff, and it really affected them because they couldn't afford to run the little old bangers around Catford and stuff. No offence, but that's what they did.
Yeah, well, that was evil, wasn't it? I mean, that is a really, really...
It didn't work. And the people, loads of money and big cars, new cars, they didn't bother because they said, well, I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah.
Cars, 5.5 litre Range Rover.
Well, he drives around in 2 of them as well.
Yeah, he's got armoured plated and stuff.
Yeah.
So
350 grand each.
It's basically, if you've got money, you're okay to pollute and kill people with whatever they say is going to kill you with bad fumes. And if you're poor or don't have enough money to change your car or don't want to, then you can't. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a tax on poverty again, isn't it? It really is.
It is, and that's typical of, I'm sorry to say, Labour, the way they just seem to tax and pick on all the people who can't fight back.
I know, but it's such... I mean, for me, it has been such an integral part of feeling independent.
Yes.
Having a car.
It is.
And it's so important.
I'm currently teaching my son to drive. He's just turned 19. We're refusing to pay £45 a driving lesson.
45 quid a driving lesson?
45.
45?
For 15 minutes. So we're not going to pay that. I'm teaching him, and he's really good level now. I mean, we've got a friend who's a former driving instructor, so he sometimes comes with us to see how he's getting on. I said, look, he's doing great, just watch this and that, and so on. So he's got his test coming up in a couple of months' time. And that's the way to do it, really, just, keep going out.
I couldn't teach my son. I'd lose my temper.
Some people couldn't.
Yeah, I would be
calm.
No, I just couldn't. It wouldn't be worth it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. How do you keep calm? You sound like you're very calm anyway, aren't you, Luke?
You have to be calm, yeah. Well, you have to trust in his ability to listen and understand. And there's no point overreacting to anything. I can grab the steering wheel if I need to, but basically, it's good. And he tries his hardest, and he wants to do his best to pass the test.
And then presumably he'll get a car.
Well, we have two cars now. So we've got an older Skoda Roomster as well, just a small sort of older one, which we drive around, and he's going to share that. And again, he's going to help me, Mum, and my wife to be able to get around and get my daughter to dance class and things. And, that's how it should be. It's what cars are for. To be able to help people and get around and hopefully keep...
And to make your life a bit better. But there are lots of people now who just... I mean, like I was saying, it's 18 quid to drive into London now.
Yeah.
And that's just a congestion charge.
And it's the same cost as to get a train for us from Orpington, so 18.50, I think.
Yeah. But trains aren't reliable. The problem is, if they want us to use public transport, then they've got to make it better and more reliable and cheaper.
Yeah. I could moan about transport, but I think, to be honest, compared to America, I think we do quite well. So to say, and it's easy just to say, we don't do too bad, really, do we? I mean, I speak to people in Texas, and they don't understand what trains and...
Yeah, well, that is true. That is true. But we're lucky. You're Bromley. I'm West London. So there are plenty of people in this country who are nowhere near a train, right? So they need a car to get to the train.
Sure, I know that's right. Well, I need to anyway because I can't, as I say, and the underground doesn't really suit me. So I get to Victoria, I just get a black cab from there to wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
But and then so I mean, my son wants to learn to drive because then he can help us to drive down to Cornwall, which is where we often go. To parents and things, and
Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yeah, it's lovely though, isn't it, Cornwall?
Yeah, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm half Cornish.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm half Cornish. My dad's Cornishman from Truro.
Oh right, from Truro.
Yeah.
My brother lives there. Yeah, my mum and dad live in Gorenhaven.
Oh, lovely. Oh, it is a beautiful part of the world. It really is, but it's a long way away.
Yeah, but it's our South France. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I do too. So when is your son taking his test?
In June, his test is.
Well, tell him I've got my fingers crossed for him.
That's great, yeah.
I'd send him luck.
We need good drivers out there, don't we? To sort of to set the example that you can be a good driver. He's young, he understands the risks, and he'll be one of those better ones.
Oh, good. I'll send my son to you when he wants to learn to drive then, Luke, right?
I'm still going. Hey, just quickly, did you hear that? Green Party also announced that they wanted all drivers to take the test every 5 years. We take the test every 5 years until someone phoned up and said, well, if that's the case, you'd have to do 16 million tests every year, which would be impossible.
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd pass. Would you?
Well, if you don't, then you can't drive and you're not insured until you take the lessons and retest. This is green for you. They send out their ballots to people to say what do you want us to implement in policies, and they come back with all these crazy things which some are good and some aren't so good. Yeah,
that is not so good. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that many tests, would you? You wouldn't be able to do it.
They can't do what they need now. No. If you want a non-AI job in the future, become a driving instructor.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I literally. I wouldn't just be my son. I'd lose patience with. Luke, I'm not very patient.
I bet your son's all right, isn't he?
He is a wonderful human being, but
Yeah,
I'm not. Yeah, it's like teaching him to cook. I would wince, you know, and I'd want to do it myself and go, no.
What's your favourite dish?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It changes all the time. I like to bake, so I just learnt to make cinnamon buns, which are delicious.
Okay. Lamb is lovely to me.
Lamb. Don't you make me hungry now, Luke?
We had it on Sunday for lunch, with a mint sauce.
Oh, very nice. Oh, I do. Oh, now I'm hungry.
Rhubarb and custard dessert. Yeah.
What did you have for pudding?
Rhubarb.
Crumble.
Rhubarb and custard crumble. Rhubarb crumble.
Oh, very nice. No, I'm just making cinnamon buns at the moment, which are delicious, and I really enjoy them. But then you have to eat them, which is a real catastrophe. Luke, great to talk to you. Good luck to your boy for his driving test. I'm going to take a very quick break, but I will be back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good morning. It is Petrie here, and we're having a good old moan here on Talkback about driving, although Luke was very positive about it. I'm having a good old moan about driving these days. It is just not fun anymore because of the number of fines. Anthony sent me this message. He said, I came to London a number of years ago and I was fined £120, reduced to 60 if paid early, for my back wheels touching the edge of a yellow box for 10 seconds. I couldn't believe it. Where I live up north in Wigan, there were no such rules. You could have a picnic in a yellow box and not get fined. Oh, here, it's just awful. It's dreadful. And the worst is if you try to pull forward and then there's a bus that gets, because you think there's going to be enough room, and then there's a bus and then that's it, you're done. But they'll say, no, don't enter a yellow box unless you can see the exit is clear. It doesn't work like that in London. It really doesn't. I didn't know there was a bus stop right there. Because the bus could have pulled forward if it was just a car driving, but no, it stopped. And then what? See, it's not you trying to break the rules. It's just those things that happen, but the cameras don't care. You can say, well, there's a bus that stopped right in front of me when it was clear to go round, to go further down the road. They go, don't care. There's a picture of your wheels on a yellow box. It's mean. Carol is in Manchester. Hello, Carol. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm kind of enjoying it, but I'm with your misery as well. Luke, all the best for your son as well. You're a very brave man. All three of mine, I've made sure that they paid and what you call it, and because I couldn't get in a car with them anyway. And even now, I'm slightly a bit what you call it with them, but I love them to death, and I do zip my mouth, you know, like in between. You seem to have had it really, really. £18. We don't have it in Manchester, that kind of thing, and I don't think it's as much as the speeding, which we do have that on motorways where it's suddenly, you know, like it goes to 70 to 40.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the yellow cameras up and the what you call it and that. And it has been with people that I know that have been, you know, like it with fines and everything and that. But my area where I get fined is mainly in hospitals. It's absolutely shocking. You bring your car out, you go into the hospitals and whatever, you can't help it, you can't sort of like look at your watch and say, you know, somebody's really, really poorly, I've only done 4 hours or whatever, and then you've got a fine, you know, like, and that's it. That's my major thing. The other thing is, you said about the yellow boxes, I've had that as well. You're behind the bus, it stops, they're in the yellow box, you know, like, I'm behind them, and I get fined, you know, like, you know, and that's a lot of it. This is to do with councils. Councils literally hate us. They hate us drivers, full stop. I'm convinced they hate us completely. You know, like, even though we get fined to death, they still hate us, and they fine us for everything. We've got a shopping thing here. Now, the only good thing about it is, which is a good thing now, I think, with our council over the years, is that they've put so many areas, you know, like for small car parks or whatever, for 1 hour or two. How can you do your shopping for an hour or 2 hours? Absolutely pathetic. So what they do 4 hours, but if you want to bring anything back, you know, like a very, very small print, you know, like, and if you want to come back, you've got to come after that 4 hours.
Right.
So we only live we only live like 5 minutes away from a big shopping. Well, it's not big, but it is to us where we live. So you've got 4 hours there to shop, which is really, really good, you know, like for the shopping, for, you know, the shopping industry and whatever, and making jobs and stuff like that. But if you don't know it, it's just like anything, don't you? If you don't know a road or whatever, it comes to 20, 30 or 40. If you don't know it, because it's that small, if you take something back, you get fined because it's within that 4 hours. So you literally get fined for that. So it's like anything. You have to be screwed up of where you live or where you go. And it's just like if you go to, say, the Trafford Centre, you know, like, there's different areas within it where you can get fined, where you don't get fined.
Yeah, but it's like a magical mystery tour, isn't it? Or you know, you're constantly having to do an exam about, you know, do you know the roads? And like I was saying, in London, I don't know if you have low traffic neighbourhoods and things like that, but they suddenly...
No, we don't. And not round here, we don't. No, I don't.
I mean, basically, it means they just put up a sign, and it means that only certain people can drive down that road. And if you've driven down it, you know, for decades, because that's your neighbourhood or whatever, and suddenly you get a fine because you've driven down it and they've changed it into a low-traffic neighbourhood with only certain people with certain...
That is so wrong.
It's so wrong. And then you get... And it's just like, oh, well, there's another, you know, 60 quid that you pay to get rid of the fine. Early. So, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to pay it. So it starts to really add up.
It is, and it is. As you can't, I mean, my baby anyway is a Land Rover, and I've had that baby like nearly 18 years, and my baby's dying. He's dying now. He's died. But the thing is, we got told to buy diesel, which we did.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've gone all over the country because my kids were into cricket in a big way, all over the country and whatever. And that baby has kept me and now he's dying absolutely. But it's like nearly £500 for his tax.
Wow.
You know, oh yeah, for its tax and that. But it's still my baby, or I'll pay for him. But now I can't because, I've only done half a year because he's got to go. He's got to go. This,
Oh,
it's fearful. I've only had 4 cars in my life, right, and they've all been brilliant. And it's like that. He's a little, she's a bit bigger, and you have to make sure that these lines between the cars are getting smaller.
Yeah, parking as well. They're making them really narrow now.
Yeah, and like you just said regarding about the grid, like on the yellow grid and whatever and that, I've been fine because I must have had about half an inch, like my tyre on the white mark. And I think, my God,
that is so mean.
What, how, and you think if you just speak and and it makes no difference. If you don't pay it straight away, then you're getting a double or whatever it be. So you've got no voice with it.
Yeah,
really.
no, that's the thing, is you don't have a voice with it. And I've seen people getting ticketed for very similar things. And in London, it must be everywhere then, that they make those lines very, very narrow now, and you can just barely get in there. And I've got a Mini, and I sometimes have to think, I've got to repark that because I'm on the white line.
If you've got a Mini and you're on the white line, right?
That's how narrow they are.
I swear to God, round here, they'll be. I think everybody up in hands.
Yeah, I mean, but it is ridiculous. You have to get out of the car, and then I spend the first couple of minutes reading the signs around the car, and then looking at the wheels of the car, making sure that I'm not on the pavement or close to the pavement or whatever. It's not relaxing anymore. It's stressful. Carol, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I don't know what to do here. I've got Keith waiting, who's a new caller. I'm going to go to Keith. We're going to go late to the break. I've made an executive decision. Keith, hello. Now, I'm in trouble, but I thought I'm not going to keep you waiting. Keith in Hastings, new caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good to talk to you. Have you had the joy of driving kicked out of you?
Well, yes, yeah, in many ways. But I've also been quite surprised about a couple of things.
Oh, go on then.
Yeah. The first time I went across the Dartford crossing, when they first brought in the
tolls.
pay by the toll. Yeah. I was given the opportunity, because it was quite new. I was given the opportunity just to pay the normal charge, and I thought, yes, okay, that's quite good. But a couple of weeks ago, I went across the Dartford crossing. I was down in London doing some work, and I was staying at the lodge there, and I again forgot all about the payment. I then got a letter through the post saying, because it was the first time the vehicle had been recorded going across, I could pay just the normal charge and no fine.
Oh, that was good of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long that lasts, but I was because when I got the letter through the post, when I saw the picture of my van on it, I thought, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And then they said, no, if you just pay the £4.20, and that's it. Yeah. I was quite pleased about that. I completely understand what you're saying about the £18 congestion charge. That's ridiculous.
It's insane, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. And it started off as a £5, and it was only ever going to go one way. And it's just a way of revenue raising. And this is the point now, that London couldn't survive without it now, and yet it did before it happened. Yes, before we had it. But it's just they get these people, they get so fat on taxation that they'll never get rid of it. And that's how you know that once a tax is imposed, it will never go, because they rely on it.
Yes, I mean, it also affects me because, I mean, I work all around the country, but I also work in central London, and for me to cost a job going into the congestion charge, I need to put that amount on to my charge.
Yeah,
and you know, once it's been paid once, that's okay if you're going in and out throughout the day. But you know, initially, it's quite a hefty amount for the customer.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, it all adds up, doesn't it? And then you've got to pay, presumably, for the parking, which is absolutely prohibitive. I mean, it is so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I think my trip into town last week, it was 18, 28, £35.
Yeah.
Just to get into town and park for an hour and then get home. 35 quid.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's a lot of it. You kind of go, blimey, that, you know.
Yeah.
To drive in my own town.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to take that out of, you know, what I'm charging a customer.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, obviously that affects my bottom line, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, it is becoming really the preserve of the rich again.
Absolutely.
The whole idea of driving and parking. I've got to go into town again tomorrow, actually, later on today, and it's going to cost me fairly similar to do that. It's just so expensive now. You've got to consider everything. It's ridiculous. But Keith, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for calling in. Lovely to speak to you. First time caller. That's absolutely brilliant. Right, I've got to take a break. I'm back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. This is Talk, and it is Petrie, and we're having a right old go at drive. Well, I am anyway. Moaning Minnie here. Talking about the various perils of driving these days, and it's such a shame because it used to be such a feeling of independence and freedom and all of those good things, and now it's just a feeling of dread every time you get behind the wheel of a car. Angie has said there's a guy on Facebook called the Yellow Box Guru who tells you about fighting for your rights, etc., against the rules and regulations councils try to impose or abuse on innocent drivers like yourself. I'm a motorist and I'm fed up of being a golden ticket for them. Yeah, it's just miserable. They just think of as many ways as possible to make your life as miserable as possible. And we pay them to do that for us. Good, isn't it? Zarina says, to get to the shops, I have to travel 15 miles. There is one return bus a day, Monday to Friday, nothing at the weekend. I work, so I can't take advantage of it. I decided to ride a 125cc motorcycle because I can't drive. What annoys me is the fact I have to take a proficiency test every 2 years at £200 a pop, which leaves me using L plates. To take the test, it would cost over £1,000. What? And she says, I can't afford it. That is a lot to shelve out in one go, isn't it? That's ridiculous. Gary in Glasgow says, Glasgow is just as bad driving nowadays, especially with roads suddenly having no drive-through. Feels like a new road is added by the month. On you talking about baking cinnamon buns, I was watching the Saturday Morning Chef making hot cross buns, which I attempted yesterday. I was feeling a bit adventurous and added dark chocolate chips to the mix. I like the cut of your jib, Gary. Lovely. I've never made a hot cross bun, don't think. No, but the cinnamon buns are amazing. And Joanna says, I haven't driven in London since the ULEZ. I'm a person they don't think about. Public transport is impossible for me. I get really bad travel sickness on buses and on trains. Driving myself was my only way to travel ever abroad. I've driven all over the world for the experience. And then you lose your freedom because of ULEZ, because of another tax. It is absolutely ridiculous. Well, earlier on, I was talking about the joy of driving with the broadcasting and very enthusiastic motoring journalist, Steve Berry.
It's funny you were just saying about enjoying you driving in London. Len Dayton died the other day, the great novelist Len Dayton and writer. And they made those Michael Caine movies in the 60s. And I re-watched one of them because Len had passed at a grand old age, well into his 90s. And the Michael Caine character is a spy. He gets a call from his boss to come straight into the Admiralty. Now, you know where the Admiralty is, don't you?
Yeah.
Michael Caine gets in his gaff, gets out of his gaff, gets in his Ford Cortina, just drives down to the Admiralty, parks outside, and just runs into the building. And you think, oh, those were the days of motoring, weren't they?
They were. They were the days when I had my Mini with the hole in the floor. And because it rotted, because they all did, and I could see the road underneath my feet, and you could pull up and park anywhere. It was brilliant, but it is so miserable now. This war on motorists. Do we deserve it?
No, but there's a reason why Michael Caine's character was able to drive his Ford Cortina unhindered and unencumbered straight to where he wanted to. Because ordinary working folk didn't have cars. I grew up in Bury, Lancashire. I'm 61. I know I don't look it. I'm 61. I grew up in Bury, Lancashire on a terrace street of about 60 homes. There were three cars. Three. My dad used to cycle to work. It was about 1.5 miles. He used to cycle there and cycle back. When we got a car, he still cycled to work because he thought it was ridiculous to do such a short journey in a car. We are, to an extent, our own worst enemies. We think that every journey we get a car and then we think every single journey should be done by car. I can't remember the last time I drove from Manchester to London, and I'm talking decades since I've done that. Because I can walk to the train station. It takes 2 hours and 8 minutes, and I'm at Euston. Why the hell would I drive?
Well, because trains aren't very reliable and they're really expensive.
Trains are, depends if you book it. And I suppose you're expecting me to come on and do the old Clarkson, I want to drive everywhere and I demand the right as a freeborn Englishman. We are our own worst enemies, let me tell you. People have got to let go of this idea that they need to drive everywhere. And I mentioned 1991 when I did first start appearing on Top Gear, because there was a census that year. And if you remember, I have looked it up, a few sources. I'm supposed to be a journalist, so I checked my sources. There were approximately 12 to 15 million fewer people in the UK back in 1991. And so guess what? driving round was a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable because there weren't so many blinking.
Yeah, when I first learned to drive, it was quite a pleasure. But now, but Steve, do you think that we deserve? I mean, because the number of ways you can be fined now, and the cameras that are everywhere, and all of that, and so even good drivers who are trying to do the right thing can end up with quite a hefty fine at the end of a day driving around London, if that's what you're doing. Do we deserve that?
No, not really. Not at all. Not at all. One of the most annoying things for me, plying my trade as a motoring journalist for 4 decades now, is the complete absence of any kind of recognition that cars have become massively safer than they used to be when I learned to drive, but are not just for the drivers and the passengers, for pedestrians as well. I looked up the stopping distance for the average car now. And in independent tests, they are stopping it in less than half the distance that the highway code says it needs to stop. Less than half. It's not even, the highway code says at 70 miles an hour, a car needs 100 metres to stop. And yet when I look at independent tests done by American and European car magazines who are comparing different marques and different brands, and they do tests on runways and racetracks, and they put the timing lights out, and they do it all scientifically and mathematically. They're doing it in under half what it tells us we need to do it. They've completely failed to recognise how much safer cars today are. And instead of saying, I tell you what, cars are a lot safer now, they're more stable, they can avoid accidents, much better. No, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the speed, instead of putting the speed limit up, we're going to bring it down.
Yeah.
So, of course, a Vauxhall Viva or a Morris Minor was much safer than a brand new BMW. So we're going to bring the speed limit down. We don't, you're right, we absolutely do not deserve it. But the motorist is, like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years now, and the motorist has always been the hanging donkey getting whacked with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It's never changed. And I think it might always be like that. They don't want us moving around too much. They'd rather we just, I don't want to be one of these 15-minute city conspiracy theory types, but truthfully, they don't want us about as much as we'd be used to, because there's too many of us. 70 million of us on these little islands. It's way too many. No wonder we're always side traffic jams.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good morning to you. This is Talk and it is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour, and this is Talkback, and that's exactly what you're doing. We're talking I'm moaning about the state of driving these days. I mean, most of my experience, I have to say, is in London, and it is miserable. It is absolutely miserable. But Gary and Polly has said in Jersey we have some 15 miles per hour roads. It's pretty much close to walking speed, and you do keep looking at your speedo. And that's the thing, isn't it? If you're 50, oh, please don't. Let's not give Sadiq Khan any more ideas. Or Sadiq can't. Ugh. Anyway, the 15 is really low. But the main roads in Jersey are not very fast either, are they? I thought they were about 50 miles an hour across the island of Jersey. I think it's 50. Because I always see these big, when I've been to Jersey, these big posh cars, and I think, well, what's the point of that? You can't go very fast. But I thought it was 50 miles an hour. Anyway, there are areas of London that are absolute hell on earth. And Phil, who is a London cab driver, one of London's finest, has called this morning. Good morning to you. Hello, Phil.
Good morning, Petrie. Cinnamon buns. Yeah, hello. Cinnamon buns, lamb chops.
I know, you hungry?
Rhubarb crumble, and then hot cross buns with chocolate chip. Oh, I've got the raving munchies here.
Tell me about it.
But I'm calling you about Islington, Camden, and the centre of London. I've got to the age now that I'm petrified working in town. I work out of town now, out at Heathrow. But a couple of months ago, on a rainy morning, I picked up a job from Liverpool Street Station to Duncan Street, just around the back of the Angel Islington. Done a few cut-throughs that I used to be able to use, and there was a camera. A couple of days later, I got a fine and contested it. Basically, it's supposed to be a pedestrianised area, but the road's still there. Duncan Street. The passenger, 4 heavy cases, pouring down with rain. What am I supposed to do? Sling him out on the side of the road? Anyway, I dropped him off. I got the fine. I contested it. This is 2 months ago. And in the email, they say they'll get in contact with you within 56 days. They didn't. And I've got a fine now for £240.
No.
You can't talk to anyone on the phone. I've emailed them again. Saying what happened and, pouring down rain for taxi. It's not the first time. Islington and Camden, they've got so many cameras everywhere that you're petrified. Someone says to me Islington now, I go,
I mean, I always feel for you guys.
I used to use with,
people who drive for a living. I mean, it must be just a constant daily onslaught. Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
It really is. It's bad. I'm getting to the point, long in the tooth, as I say. I can't face London. London born and bred. I love London, but it's turning into a beast that I can't work in. So I work out the airport, sit around for hours, and hope to get a ride into town. But then I come back out here. I can't drive around like I used to with my light on because I can't drive around, for one. And also, all the streets that I used to be able to use, I can't. So I've got to sit in the traffic with everyone else.
Because that's crazy, because a lot of roads black cabs can use, can't they, these low traffic neighbourhoods, but not all of them then. Oh, we've lost him.
Oh, no, yeah. You still get nicked. They still stick it through the post at you, but then you got to contest it. You got to contest it and prove that you're a taxi.
What?
I got done in Kingston in a bus lane. Yeah, I get done in bus lanes because they just do don't even look at the plate and the numbers. I've got 3 sets of numbers on the back of my vehicle that explains that it's a taxi. Let alone the picture. I've still been nicked in bus lanes. Low traffic neighbourhoods, residents only. Residents only. It's a resident that I'm dropping off with their luggage. What am I supposed to do? Just drop them at the end of the street in the pouring rain and say, drag your cases to your door? They're paying me good money. Well, most of the time. You know what I mean? It's mad.
I absolutely agree with you.
This £240 thing is just threats with bailiffs.
That's outrageous.
I'm going to get in touch with the union, but I don't hold out much hope.
Well, there was it's the yellow box guru. Get in touch.
Well, get a tissue out for me.
Listen, I will. I love you guys. I rely on you, black cabs. I get black cabs everywhere. He's gone. Are you gone? Well, listen, good luck with it.
You've left me here starving now.
I know. I'm hungry as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah, take care, Petrie. Love you.
Love you. Take care. Bye now. I love the black cab drivers. Honestly, if I've got to get, I use the app Get for cars because they can go in the bus lanes. So if you've got to be somewhere quickly, you don't get an Uber, you get a black cab, and they get you there. They're brilliant. All of them brilliant. Danny is in London as well. Morning, Danny.
Hi, how you doing? You all right?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm all good, thank you.
Good.
So I basically just wanted to, I agree with basically more or less what everyone said before, but there's also a social construct regarding the congestion charge, which really hasn't done enough to combat traffic.
Nothing. It's just a tax on driving. It hasn't stopped.
Well, yeah. And we already pay obviously road tax and council tax, and sometimes where you pay parking.
Yeah.
You basically pay for everything. But my friend was come to see me yesterday, and she drove into obviously she's from West London, I live in East London,
right.
So basically she had to go through the congestion zone, and basically she was stuck in traffic, and then she was stuck in traffic so long she had to basically go back. She's a nurse, so she had work in the morning. But then, I mean, if you can't even get to A to B, but you still have to pay a congestion charge.
I know.
I mean, because it really doesn't make any sense.
No, it's because they're closing down all these other roads, aren't they, in London, forcing people onto a few main roads, and then you get stuck in traffic because no one can drive anywhere else. So the social cost, you're absolutely right. There is a social cost to these congestion charges. And it hasn't altered congestion. It hasn't made a jot of difference. I've been in this town for decades. It hasn't made a slightest bit of difference.
Exactly. That's the issue. I mean, if Sadiq Khan is all about, helping Londoners, but we can't even interact with each other.
Yeah.
Not as much as we used to be able to.
No, you're absolutely right, because the congestion charge now spreads over the weekend. So even if you're driving to see a mate at the weekend, you're having to pay now your congestion charge, and you're absolutely right. And I'm West London, and so if I've got friends all over the place, but it's like it's 18 quid, mate. It's a lot.
Yeah. One other thing, sorry, you were talking about the app you use to book cabs.
Yeah.
Sadiq Khan has said, you can watch the interview, he said he will never let his kids take an Uber. I mean, Okay. He said obviously he has drivers, and well, he really didn't go into it, but the assumption was the interviewer was asking basically, is Uber safe? Is it regulated enough, giving the amount of whatever? So how does he really know? I mean, he won't even take an Uber. I mean, I'm sorry, but most people take the bus and the train.
Yeah, but Sadiq Khan, apparently it's too dangerous for him. And it's like, it's dangerous for women, it's dangerous for kids, it's dangerous for a lot of people, but we still have to do it.
Yeah.
But he gets 2 Range Rovers at 350 grand each, and bodyguards to take him wherever he wants. They drive him to take his dog for a walk.
Yep, of course.
It's disgusting.
Like, he is so protected, and I mean, he has no idea about what it's really like, especially in London now. You're walking around, taking public transport, just going to work and back. I mean, you have to go to work every day, so you have to go through certain areas and whatnot.
But this is what happens, isn't it, Danny? This is what happens with our political classes. They rise above us. They don't walk anymore. They don't take public transport anymore. They don't have to worry about their bills.